whatever the hell that is.
Yep. All
BRB
right.
real quick. Have a good trip.
Well, this will take some time.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Elite Week. This is gonna be a crazy show. We got a lot of stuff going on tonight. With me, as always, is my tactical officer, Tweak. Say hello, Tweak.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Friday night party. Hope everybody's ready to have some fun.
Hell yes. And we've got the counselor with us tonight, Boss Lady B. Say hello, Boss Lady.
Hello, everyone. It's good to be back, and it's good to be here. So this is going to be fun tonight.
Yes. And our racer in chief, Black Maze, is also with us. Say hi, Black Maze.
Evening, Kai, and as always, thank you for the invite.
There you go. All right. So, you heard everybody talk a little bit. Tell me, how are the sound levels? Is everybody good? I hope everybody's sounding good. While we wait for feedback to come in on that, I'm going to go ahead and start in on saying hi to people. We've got Commander Mascumi, ECC, bonjour, ça va? We've got Gorfic Star Shadow. I'm here in support of Urban Black Maze, as well as all the great criticisms and ideas that we allowed to be discussed in an uncensored environment. You guys are, and perhaps gals, are doing a great job. Thank you. We got Alex Whitehill. Let's see here. We've got. Oh, it's Alex Whitetail. There we go. We got Anthony Scaletti. Hello. We got Nate TC, Game Warrior. Sanderling in the house. Winter Mute, Load 200, SP4H, Sir Benton. Yes, the Hesperus crew was found 25 minutes ago. We got Yuna Sakashiro. We got Van Otter. Big C75. Borders. Bruno Rodriguez. Cyberblitz. We got, let's see here. Remariza. We got Wonder Platypus. There we go. Everybody sounds good. Okay on the sound. Here we go. Spike 553. Juki Bomb. Hey, Juki Bomb. I know you. We got the shape-shifting dragon who knows how to type. That's a good little crowd for the start. Yes. Boss Lady, why don't you run through some of the people in Twitch?
I was just going to say, we got to talk about the people we got over here on Twitch. So we've got Sonnen Wolf, we've got Malik, we've got Dire Wolf, we've got It's Fused or Dart, we've got Commander Shorty, Mad King Haster, we've got Alexander Corbin, oh my goodness, and Wonder Platypus is over here, and of course, the adorable Sean is in the house. So welcome in, everybody, and it's good to see you guys.
Right on. And a last-minute shout-out to the man on the mountain. Well, guys, we got a lot of shit to get to, so we're just going to get this party started.
And you may find yourself living in a shotgun shack. And you may find yourself in another part of the world. And you may find yourself behind the wheel of a large automobile. And you may find yourself in a beautiful house with a beautiful wife. And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
Letting the days go by, let the water hold me down. Letting the days go by, water flowing underground into the blue again. After the money's gone, once in a lifetime, water flowing underground.
And you may ask yourself, how do I work this?
How do I work this?
And you may ask yourself, where is that large automobile? And you may tell yourself, this is not my beautiful house. And you may tell yourself, this is not my beautiful wife.
Letting the days go by, let the water hold me down. Letting the days go by, water flowing underground into the blue again, into the silent water, under the rocks and stones. There is water underground. Letting the days go by, let the water hold me down. Letting the days go by, water flowing underground into the blue again. After the money's gone, once in a lifetime, water flowing underground. Water flowing underground. Water flowing underground. Same as it ever was. 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 Letting the days go by, let the water hold me down. Letting the days go by, there is water underground into the blue again, into the silent water, under the rocks and stones. There is water underground. Letting the days go by, let the water hold me down. Letting the days go by, water flowing underground into the blue again. After the money's gone, once in a lifetime, there is water underground. Letting the days go by.
Coming to you live from the Salty Dog Bar in Meredith City, the hottest spot in all of LFT 926. It's Elite Week free. Galactica Channel 07.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Elite Week, episode 82. Words are wind. Galactic Water Cooler, Friday, June 11th, 2021. I am your host, Kai Zen, and it's going to be one of those nights. With me, as always, we've got my tactical officer, Tweak74. How you doing, Tweak?
I'm doing just fine. I hope everybody's ready to have some fun talking conversations this fine evening because I think some things were said, some good things, a lot of not so good things, according to a lot of us anyways. So excited to get into it.
Yes. We hope that you are ready to have some good talking conversations. I think Tweaked has already hit the bottle. Tweaked, we received a little something from our sponsor, 6 and 20. We each got a bottle of liquid fesh sourced at Ray Gateway Diaguandry, which is basically it's a wheat bourbon that this is some legit stuff, man, or wheat whiskey.
Absolutely. It was delicious. I've already had 2 glasses of it. I'm on a 3rd, and then I'll have my coffee. So.
Hell yes. We at Elite Week do not accept cash, but we do take booze, and we'll give out our address. So yeah, that's good news. I am also, by the way, I'm enjoying a little Dragon's Milk with the right hand, and a little 6 and 20 whiskey in the left hand because, like I said, I dual wield. Boss Lady, how are you doing tonight?
Well, I am fabulous. We just had a huge raid from Astro over on Twitch, and I'm looking forward to chit-chatting about Elite this week. So it's good to be here.
Oh, hell yeah. Astro, brother, if you are, I get it. If you're like, dude, I'm exhausted. It's, crazy o'clock. But if you are not exhausted, pop in. We've got some crazy clips set up, and we're going to have some good roundtable conversations. And you are always welcome on Elite Week, brother. So I hope you'll pop in, and if you don't, oh well, enjoy the show and thank you for the raid. But I really hope you pop in. I could use a smart Dane to sort of balance out the 2 dumb Americans and the boss lady. All right, and Black Maze, how are you doing, brother?
07, and thank you. I'm conflicted. I'm here with some wonderful company. And it's always a pleasure to be invited onto your show, of course. But then I'm here to talk about some bad stuff too. So talk my heart out a bit.
Yeah. What are you drinking tonight, brother?
Dude, it's 2 a.m. and I'm drinking water.
That's probably a smart choice. I get it.
And it's hot. It's very hot. So yeah, gotta hydrate.
Right on. Very cool. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get this whole thing started. We're going to do a little bit of a weird show tonight as far as we're not going to do a lot of the regular stuff. There's just so many things that we have to get to. So intro-wise, we've got clips on clips on clips. We heard you like clips, so we put clips in your clips. As far as we're going to skip real life science. I know. And you know what? This is crazy. I can't believe we're skipping real life science this week because legitimately, I shit you not, and we're going to get into it next week, a United States congressman from the state of Texas actually asked the Bureau of Land Management and the Forestry Service if they could maybe think about changing the orbit of the moon or the Earth to help deal with, excessive heat and climate change. Like, oh my God.
That's a thing. We can do that. No problem.
I swear on a stack of Bibles, I'm changing. There was a guy who was like, please don't swear on the Lord's name or whatever. So I swear on a stack of Bibles, that is a real thing that happened this week. And we're going to talk about it next week on the science news. But we also have the new Elite drinking game, which is whenever a community manager tells you that they're telling the truth or that they are honest by nature, you have to take a drink. Let's see who's alive at the end of this show. Woo! All right. Yeah, we got a lot to get to, so let's go ahead and hit the plugs and get this party started.
If you're listening to us on the podcast and would like to see the live show and visuals, check us out on YouTube at youtube.com/Elite Week and on Twitch at twitch.tv/Elite Week. If you're watching us on YouTube or Twitch and would like to know how to catch us on our podcast, check out anchor.fm/Elite Week.
For sending us your thoughts by email, you can reach us at eliteweek3306@gmail.com.
Our very active and growing Elite Week Discord can be found at tinyurl.com/Elite Week Discord, where you can check out or contribute to community feedback, resources on turning the wheel, and real-time updates about Elite from a variety of content creators.
In addition to the Discord community feedback channel, feel free to write in our YouTube comments anything about the topic of the week, as well as anything else you'd like to share. We'd love to hear from you. Also, if you're enjoying the show on YouTube, please make sure to like and subscribe and click on the bell. It really helps us out. On Twitch, a follow would be much appreciated.
If you're on Twitter, feel free to follow at EliteWeek3306 for news and information about Elite Dangerous and cool sci-fi and space news.
We record live on YouTube every Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 1 a.m. UTC, so come and join in on the fun.
If you're listening to us on the podcast, please make sure to rate and review us on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever platform you use. And let us know if there's a format you want us to look into.
We don't do Patreon, so save your money and just tell your friends about the show.
You're listening to Elite Week. This is Burger Ant. Subscribe if you want. Who fucking cares?
That's right. All right, we're going to skip the Dark Wheel update. The Dark Wheel is doing its thing. We're continuing to rise in Hrimphaxi. We're going to go ahead and knock this one off and then progress to Phase 4, as we've told you. With regard to other sort of issues to go over, let's start at the very top with, I want to give a huge, huge shout out to a new program that is out there. It's called Fly Dangerous. And I was turned on to it by a friend, a certain Sanderling, who said, you got to check this out. So I hopped over to their Discord. A link to both the Discord as well as the, what do you call it? GitHub thing to get the program itself will be in the show notes. If you are a person who just absolutely loves flying in the amazing planet tech that we had in Horizons, you should definitely check this out. This is a labor of love. We're going to have the creator on next week to go over it, but I want to pimp it out now and pimp it out next week. It's that good. Basically, what they did was take, how do I say this right? I'm an idiot, so if I don't explain any of this correct, Juki is in the chat, so for sure pipe up, Juki. What they did was took sort of the flight model of Elite and took like the amazing canyons or whatever of like Pamesh and basically created a fan-made sort of love letter to all that is good in, Elite flying, in the old school Elite flying, and created a thing that will always be there now, that you can just go in, you can hoon around and enjoy the amazing planet tech and the amazing flight model without having it taken away from you by things that we're going to talk about later. So huge shout out to Juki Bomb, and I look forward to getting a demonstration of this thing next week. We'll put it on a demonstration on the air so people can see it for themselves. Those people that are heartbroken that the old school Hooners and Flight Assist Off, hardcore flyers, there is an option for you. You don't have to despair. You can fly around in Odyssey and do your in-game Odyssey stuff if you want to do exploration or whatever in Elite Dangerous on the official game. But when you have that itch that just cannot be satisfied by anything, the only way to scratch it is to have some old school real hooning. You've got Fly Dangerous as an option, and that's a beautiful thing, man. Does anybody want to hop in on this Fly Dangerous?
I'll just say I've seen 2 videos, one from Yuki herself and one from Osashis, who tried it with, I don't know if he tried his dual sticks. I think so. But it's really cool looking. I think what's particularly interesting about it is the fact that it does the FA off thing that they love so much without some of the limitations that we have, like speed restrictions and stuff in Elite. So I think it really does help scratch an itch.
Yeah. And I think it's, no matter who you are, no matter what your deal is, if you're an Elite Dangerous commander, you should try this out. If for nothing else, just to see what it's about, see what, what there is. And hey man, fly around and hoon like crazy and crash all you want with 0 rebuy. Sounds like a winner to me. All right. So that takes us to our next sort of topic for the evening, which is going to be, let's see, how are we going to go about this? Let's hop right in on some of the sort of streams and things that have happened. So we all talked about last week how the fact that the Elite Dangerous sort of frontier developments, the whole Elite Dangerous team have acknowledged that they need to do better, that they're going to change some things, and sort of that was kicked off by this roadmap, which was a little underwhelming by Frontier's own acknowledgement. And that was followed up with a Tuesday stream where Art and Zach chatted about all sorts of things. They started off with a pretty frank, and I thought it was a decent sort of discussion about a lot of issues. But it was kind of scripted. It was kind of their, it was on their terms, and it was scripted, and it had a certain feel to it that was like, okay, this is you're getting off easy. And then immediately after, community manager Art went on Lave Radio, and there he wasn't on his home turf. There he was fielding questions from others, and you could tell that it was a little less comfortable for him. He had to sort of engage in more real organic conversations as opposed to just sort of, having his script and hitting his points and moving on. He had to sort of, even though it was a friendly audience, it was still an audience that asked some questions of him that needed to be answered. So let's start. What I've done here is created a whole list of clips. We're going to play, each one will be like 5 or 6 clips. We'll play them, and then we'll talk about the different points that were, in each clip. So we're going to go ahead and get it started.
One of the things we've listened to, and I've been the team and I have been sort of relaying back sort of loud and clear, is that the community want to know more about what's going on with the development of Odyssey, what comes up, when fixes are going to come in, sort of what they'll be focusing on, and then generally just being kept along with the overall scope of the development. So we went back and I spoke to the team at length. It wasn't something that was taken lightly, and said, like, look, what are the actual plans for Odyssey in terms of, like, what do we have in our immediate future? Obviously, the community want to know about the long-term roadmap and how does that look. So we came up with, obviously, the immediate roadmap, which is focusing on making sure that Odyssey is in the state we want it to be in and comfortable in. So that's those 5 key updates, of which we've had 2. Now, I understand people's frustrations about this. Now, one of the things about changing our communication is just being honest, which is what I've seen people here and say that please be transparent. I'm being transparent. I've asked exactly what we're going to be getting, and I'm running through it with you now, and I will go through why we're getting it and why that's going to happen. I saw some of the feedback around the roadmap and people not being happy with the multiple fixes and improvements. Quote, now the reason that was put in there, and I will take that one for swear on the chin, is because the key focus points are the 2 points underneath. The reason I don't list out every single key focus and improvement is because it does say in a paragraph underneath, each one of these updates are huge. The update 1 was 180 fixes and improvements, I think. Update 2 was 181. I can't list all of those out. And furthermore, just being open and honest, sometimes these fixes are being tested right until the last moment, and some will be working and be fine until the last minute, and then they'll come out. And what I don't want to do is list out 3-4 weeks in advance what's going to be coming, and then it doesn't come in, and then you guys get disappointed. So I'm going to be saying, this is what we're going to put in. We'll release our, another reason why we don't put our patch notes out until the day it goes live.
There was a phrase in the roadmap that got memed quite a lot. So what specifically does many fixes mean? Does it
word that will put me to the end of my days.
Yeah, I mean, does it include, obviously performance fixes, etc., or does it include things like balance passes, engineering changes, handheld weapon balance? All basically, is it just fixing stuff that's broken, or does
it is everything. It is everything. I mean, I said it on stream. The reason why we wrote it that way, and this is a genuine, as I said before, like I'm very keen to pull back the veil, and you have to understand that it's not, and it isn't a frontier thing. I know people because they see other companies, but there is a general fear in the entire industry of you show too much and people just will pillar you for it regardless. So I'm trying, and we are trying to pull back the curtain a bit more. But the honest answer is the reason it's written many fixes and improvements, and there was a long argument about even putting that line in there, just because it was like, we will get 1 or 2 responses here. It looks, if we just leave the 2 headings, people are going to think we're just fixing 2 things. And it was generally a case of we'll put it in because each update will have 180 plus, I would imagine, on average, changes. And it does include balance passes and stuff like that. They make slight adjustments. It's a bit of everything that goes into it. And the reason we don't publish exactly what's going in is, as I said on stream, they don't know until literally the day before, right, this is ready to go. It's been tested fully and it's going to be in. And for us to put out a roadmap that says, here's the 100, whatever it be, I don't know, what's that, 3 times 180? It's just 600, say there's 600 changes, because some of it may not make it, some of it might not work, and some of it might work until it goes in and then just for whatever reason doesn't work, which we had before. I think it was update 2 or 1, there was an exploit with fleet carrier infantry, which I know people are well aware of. And we thought we'd fix that 3 times, and it just didn't take for whatever reason. And, it's just one of the things. That's why we put out the patch notes when we do. But we put in the line, love us or hate us for it. And I guess then the feeling is hate. but we put it in there because it's just a lot of stuff that goes in. It's more to give an example of these updates are not just going to be the 2 sort of headline things we've put in that week. There will be a lot of other things that goes in each week, including performances and other bits and bobs.
Yeah, it's a bit of feedback to that from an outsider looking in. I would suggest that statement was counterproductive for you guys, and that if, as and when you do more roadmaps, which we hope you will, if there's stuff you can say, just give examples, just let us know the scope of it, even if you can't, say anything, because it comes across as, oh crumbs, they said they'd be out on the 4th, we quickly better write this back on the back of a tag packet and put it out. I'm sure that's not what happened, but that's just how it came across with the vague sort of statement.
Yeah, look, I'll be totally honest. We wanted to get it out on the 4th because we said we'd get out on the 4th, and we were like, look, if we're going to change the way we communicate, we have to stick to what we've just said. So it was a case of, right, well then let's get it out. And there was a genuine fear, and this is me being 100% honest, of well, we just put out the headlines, people are going to think we're doing nothing. When in reality, the scope of work is so vastly different to that we didn't want that to come across. And yeah, it's a poor choice of wording, and it hasn't worked out well for us. But I'm one of these people, I'm not going to sit here and argue that and say, you're wrong or the community's wrong. You're absolutely right to call us out on it. It's something we'll get better at. But I'm very much right, cool. I'll bank that feedback, and I'm going to move forward and be right, next time we'll get it better. Probably won't get it right next time. Let's be honest. That alpha for us was incredibly successful. It worked. It was stable. As far as we were concerned, it did exactly what it wanted to do. We got the information. We popped it in the system. We merged these 2 humongous worlds together, and then obviously things just exploded and went horribly wrong. And it's not stuff we planned for. And I do understand, and we do understand players' frustrations about not being able to play the game, connectivity issues, which are a huge deal for us. We certainly didn't want that, and there's no way we'd have pressed that button if we knew that was what the issues were going to be. I think difficult is fair to say. I think in the spirit of being honest, I think I'm not going to sit here and say it's been a sunny day at the beach for us. It's quite the opposite. But yes, it's been a difficult and challenging few weeks.
I mean, on that subject, I mean, we really feel for the amount of work that the developers and the CMs and everybody else is going through at the moment. I mean, can you share with us the general mood that everybody's in?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought the best way to explain it is determined, I think, is probably the best word to describe certainly my team and certainly the development team. You know, it's not how we wanted it to go by a country mile, to keep with the theme. So we're determined to make it right, and we're determined to win back, you know, the community's trust in us. So it's a long road, and it's one of those things. I think I said it on the stream today. We can talk a lot about it, and I can say what I intend to do. And I think people that have dealt with me will know that I'm pretty much a man of my word. If I say something, I'll do it. But I'm also conscious of the fact that people haven't had that experience in the past. So it's a case of I'm fully prepared to take it on the chin until they see the changes. So I think defiant is the right word, and eager to get it right. At the moment, there was a lot of stuff that just went wrong when we merged two products together. And it was things that just, and I said on the stream today, we're generally blindsided by that. Things just went literally could put in the biggest way, in many different ways, all at once, like a firework going off, and everyone was just like, well, that definitely is not what was supposed to happen when we pressed that button. And now it's just a case of we have genuine issues, which players are like, this is rubbish, it doesn't work for us, it's frustrating, and we listen. And then on the flip side of that, we're like, this isn't working because there's generally a bug in here that is making it not work. So we need to fix that first and then see if it's still causing players an issue. It's about a month, and a month and 2 months per act. That's the plan. That's the plan. So I hope it might end around Christmas. It might end just after Christmas, so January, Feb time. It just depends on what certain things happen. We are only Act 2, just about to go into it, but I know how fast time flies, and the stuff we want to get involved for the next stuff. I mean, this is just literally. I mean, I'm really excited for this story. I'll take none of that away, but this is really our first one, and I'm like, all I want to do is building it and building it and building it. And we had our first sort of tentative question meetings this morning about like, this is what I want, because I know what happens at the end, obviously. So I'm like, I want to have this option. I think this would be a really cool thing. And the answer we got was, yeah, that's actually a really cool idea. Let's start getting some structure in for where we want to go next. So it isn't just going to, so this storyline, as in the Azimuth saga, might end, but the stories will not. I think the last time I checked, there's like 70,000 players sort of passing through each day.
All right, so let's take these one by one. I've got them listed. We're going to go around the panel and get input on each of these 8 clips. First off, it was sort of the original, where do we go from here? I want to point out the fact that we told, first off, I told someone at Frontier before this even happened, if you don't give a longer term view of the roadmap, if you just go with sort of the bug fixes roadmap, it's going to blow up in your face. People are not going to be happy. This will not be accepted. It will not go over well. You were at a deficit and you need to win people back. The way that you do it is, number one, include a detailed list of, fixes that you need to do. And number two, you need to have something longer looking. You need to have something talking about not just the fixes, but design philosophy, what you're going to be putting in for the rest of Odyssey. Doesn't have to be exact details, but some sort of broad strokes to reassure people. You saw the roadmap that they released. You saw the community's reaction. And now, if you've noticed, he specifically said, where are we going from here? Well, there's the immediate roadmap, which we released, but there's also the long-term roadmap, which we're going to give you sort of towards the end of June. And we acknowledge your frustrations and yada, yada, yada. Who wants to hop in on this one?
Yeah, I will, if nobody else wants to jump in. I don't even know where to start with this. I mean, yeah, okay. You want to put this out with what looked like it could have been done in 10, 15 minutes, and then tell us, the design, the future, what the direction we're going to go. We're going to give that to you in a month or so. Don't you worry, guys. It's going to get better later on down the line. Frustrating, maddening. I mean, this roadmap, we talked about it last week. This roadmap was more of a joke than anything. It's all stuff that should have been in the game to begin with. 180 fixes each time. There's already been 2 patches and 3 more to go. Well, now there's been 3 and 2 more to go. That's, by my calculations, 900 things that they should have realized was probably not quite right before they released this game. I don't know. I didn't really love much of what I heard there.
All right. Boss Lady.
So I'm kind of picking up 2 different things. Obviously, I'm digesting it as we're listening to it. So my first impression is, I think a lot of people reacted to the roadmap just how you said, Kai, is that we really wanted to see more of the large scale ideas of what's coming in the future, something to get excited about. Even Braben, I think in Braben's letter, he mentioned that that would be something end of June. So hopefully we are going to get that. And I think that it is one of those things where we've heard enough of hopefully we're going to get this. And I think that's what Tweaked is really saying is, you know, we've been told enough that we're going to be getting that later. However, I do think that from what we've seen in those patch notes, we're getting a really detailed list. So it's such a strange combination because that roadmap they gave us, it literally did seem like something where people were meant to fill it in later. You know, like, this is our outline for what the roadmap's going to be and we'll fill it in later. And that's basically what Arf said is, you know, I don't want to commit to this because we're doing so much. And that's what we see on those update lists, on those patch notes, is they're doing a heck of a lot. But maybe there's some middle ground between not telling us much of anything on the roadmap of fixes and all the things they're doing behind the scenes. So I think there's a middle ground there.
How about this as a middle ground? Look at the way Asobo does the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 whatever thing. They put out a whole list. Frontier could have put out a list of saying, here are 800 things that we know are wrong. We're acknowledging that. We're going to do round 1 on this Tuesday or Thursday, round 2 on next Thursday, round 3. Like, you could have just said, we're not committing to any fix on any day, but we're just letting you know, here's the list, and we acknowledge this, and we're working on it. That way, if something's bugging you, you could look on the list and say, oh, it's here. It's on the list. I see it. So, okay, now I know they're working on it. With that doesn't commit to any day. It just acknowledges your problem. Black Maze.
This is exactly what I was going to say. I tend to get very loud when I don't feel like I'm being acknowledged or my concern is being acknowledged. And so I don't think people give a damn about whether this is coming in week 1 or week 2 or week 4. You know, if you just tell us that you're aware of all these things being wrong, I think people will be a lot more patient in regard to getting these fixed. And if that's June or July, it doesn't matter if people know it's coming soon.
Okay.
Just tell us you know about it. That's all. It's very unclear at the moment. All the things that are in Odyssey that are working as intended, you know, these things are going to stay the way they are, versus the things that are going to get fixed because you're acknowledging this is not the way it was meant to be. We're going to fix that.
Absolutely. Now, clip 2 and clip 3 were both about the multiple fixes line. You heard first the sort of, you know, on the Super Cruise news where Art is on his home turf. He's talking about multiple fixes. We get it. You didn't like that line. But then you heard him talk about it on Lave Radio where he was feeling a little more pressure and had to sort of own up to some things. And he's like, yeah, that one's going to haunt me till the day I die, yada, yada, yada. He acknowledged very clearly that was a big swing and a miss. And I think, as we've all said, you know, a listing of not this is going to be out on Thursday, but these are all the things, and we're going to get them in waves, you know, that would have probably been a lot better. They say that they're hearing and learning and will do better. We'll see. Because as the title of tonight's show it says, words are wind. So the next clip, the 4th clip there, was talking about how the alpha was great. It all was just fantastic. Everything ran exactly as it was supposed to. And then the clip after that, clip 5, was, and then it all went wrong. But we're going to try to earn back your trust. I would make the point that he says the alpha was fantastic, everything was great. I think here's the way that I would sort of suggest people maybe want to look at it. There was no full alpha. There was an alpha of targeted sections. There were 3 sort of mini alphas of very small areas of like, we got this, and we got this. And then there was the 4th alpha, which was literally just testing if we can transfer over all of the tables from one server to the next. If you acknowledge that Elite Dangerous is like a massive game, it in fact is a one-to-one recreation of the galaxy, it's huge and complex and crazy sort of immense and weighty and a massive beast, which I don't think anyone that works for Frontier would be surprised by. Here's my point. How the hell do you do a partial alpha, never do a full alpha, skip beta entirely, and 2 weeks after the original alpha, for the first time, flip the switch to like make it all merge together and expect that it's not gonna shit the bed? Like, that's the kind of situation where if you're a 7-year-old kid, it's like, oh yeah, Johnny, that happened badly. Well, okay. If you're a billion-dollar games company that's been in business for many years and has 600 plus employees, that's the kind of stuff you should kind of know ahead of time. I mean, at this point, is it too strong to say that that's just flat out negligent or incompetence? To just expect that everything's going to work? Tweak first, then Boss Lady.
Yeah, almost naive, right? I mean, like you said, the alpha was very segmented. You had what a 50 light year bubble after a little bit at the most, if I remember correctly, and so you could jump a few jumps here and there. And remember, in the alpha, they didn't even have the planetary tech all the way in there. They said it's going to be all with the real game is so much further than the alpha is. We'll have the planetary tech in when the real game comes. So the real game comes. They released Odyssey 2 weeks later, so they couldn't do any adjusting really in those 2 weeks. And they open it up to the 4 billion star systems that we have in Elite Dangerous and put the planetary tech in, and boom, it all goes to hell. And they put their hands on their face and go, oh my, I didn't see that coming. I mean, come on. How could you not see that coming? I agree. That is negligent. It's naive. It's something. It's surprising to me.
Boss Lady.
So I think part of this is what they're telling us and part of what's going on behind the scenes. Because what I'm getting the sense of is that some of this is the PR speak or the marketing or this is what we tell the public versus we're kind of guessing as to what was going on behind the scenes. And I think a lot of these conversations are, did no one behind the scenes say this? But in fact, maybe these conversations are going on or were going on behind the scenes and we just don't know about it. And they don't want to, kind of air their dirty laundry. However, I do think that there is kind of that piece of, what is it? No plan survives contact with the enemy. It's like the same thing with any sort of software or game launch. No matter what, no matter how confident they were with how the branched off build was, they had to have known and decided that their decision was to put up this everything's fine sort of front. And I think that's the decision that was made. And for better or worse, that was what they decided as a company was the best way to go about it, no matter what those conversations were on the back end.
Are you suggesting that he's not being entirely open and honest? Shock.
I mean, it is his job, so he has to do what he has to do. It's his job, right?
Fair. Black Maze.
Yeah, I just want to say I totally agree with that. When we hear this down to earth Arthur speaking to us, the new and improved, it that is still the PR speak, right? It feels a little fake to me.
I mean, we've got a bunch of people with liquor poisoning already because every time he said he was honest and open and telling the truth, they took a shot. So, I'm sure a good third of our audience is already dead. But yeah, it's a situation to me where imagine like this game, Elite Dangerous. It is far more complex than, say, a car, right? A car might have what 30, 80,000 moving pieces, whatever. This game has billions of moving pieces. I can't imagine a single car company that would ever say, we're going to test the wheels, we're going to test the drivetrain, we're going to test the engine, and then we're going to release. Having never put the pieces together to see, you know, if it all works. But he told you that they fully expected everything to go great, and then they were shocked when they hit the button and it didn't. I would suggest that if they ever make another downloadable content release for Elite Dangerous, that they maybe consider, oh, I don't know, testing it all together and seeing if it works or if it does what Odyssey did. All right, that takes us to the next point, which was stuff about the Hesperus. Now, as we just stated early on in the actually it might have been in the pre-show, the Hesperus crew was just found within the last half an hour or so before the show started. So, just as a recap for anybody who may be new or maybe doesn't get the whole whatever, there is a storyline. It started off with a ship called the Azimuth, or no, the, what was it called in the Chuck Chan system? I forget the name of the first one. Adamastor, that's it. And then there was a second ship called the Hesperus. It's a continuing storyline which basically changes our understanding of the initial contact between humans and Thargoids. It rewrites history in that sense. And when talking about this, there were 3 clips that we played that were very, very interesting, and I think in their own way. The first one was a clip where Art said that basically each section is going to go for a couple months. We're just starting round 2, which is the thing that just happened, you know, yesterday, that is now resolved. That there are 6 rounds of the storyline that are going to happen, and that he expects it to end somewhere between December and February based on various things. And we're going to get back to that in just a second. The second clip was him saying that while this Hesperus storyline, which actually, to be clear, they're calling, if you notice, they call it the Azimuth storyline, which I think is very, very key. I think that's important. They're not naming it after the ships, they're naming it after the company. And I think that what we're going to see is, as this plays out, we're going to see this sort of dark other side of the story where these Azimuth people were messing around with stuff, were getting involved with the Thargoids, and that, you know, when it comes to humans and Thargoids, we might not be the good guys in this story. And then lastly, there was just a 3-second clip. Art made a throwaway line when he was asked about it, about, oh, if the power goes to his head. He slipped and made a statement that basically he's, you know, running a game, running a story for about 70,000 people per day, players that check in. That's an interesting thing because Frontier has never really sort of stated, at least not in any way recently, like a head count of approximately how many people. We have Steam charts that will tell us this many concurrent users and this record and this yada, yada, yada. But we have a company representative who just slipped and said, yeah, it's about 70,000 unique players a day. All right, let's go around the horn. Let's start with you, Tweak.
Yeah, the Hesperus story, or the Azimuth story, as they're calling it, it's fairly interesting. Like I've stated before, I'll be more interested when I actually see it affect something. But I went and I chased down the first two legs of it, so I'll probably go check out whatever they found tonight later on this evening. So curious about it. It's at least something to go look at, I guess, for now. But I'll wait to hold judgment on that. At least they're doing something with it.
I'm going to say something at the end, but I think you're going to be excited with at least a theory that I have. Boss Lady, what do you think about the 70,000 players a day and the whole Azimuth storyline thus far?
Yeah, actually, I was just hitting on that. Army Squirrel mentioned something about that, and I went, is there anywhere that we can see those stats as players? I know on Steam we can see how many people are playing Elite through Steam, but it always surprises me when I hear how many people are playing Elite and then how very few we run into, either just in the open world of it or in the online community. So it's just one of those numbers that blows my mind, because it's like there's that many people. And Army Squirrel said a good question. Is that more or less people than were expected? And how many people on the opening day of Odyssey were there, and how many, how has that dropped off? So seeing those analytics to me would be really quite fascinating.
It would be, but Frontier never sort of lets you see any of that. The only analytics we ever really see is, Steam charts, and that only shows one section of the audience. It doesn't show the people that play PC directly from Frontier. It doesn't show the people that play PC through Epic. It doesn't show the people who play Xbox. It doesn't show the people that play PlayStation. So, yeah. Now, let me suggest something that is a theory and see what you guys think about this. When asked about when the storyline is going to end, Art was evasive a little bit and said, somewhere between Christmas and like February, based on things, other factors. And the suspicion was shared, like, oh, you mean like player, choices or whatever? And Art sort of passed it off as like, yeah, other factors. Didn't really get into that. I think that the whole point of the Azimuth storyline could be giving us context to our history, our shared history with the Thargoids. What if, because Art made a big point of saying that at the end of the Azimuth storyline, the last step is going to leave it as there's going to be a big decision that the commanders are going to have to make for themselves, each commander. And that decision will have repercussions. What if this entire storyline is shading our thoughts of the Thargoids and is going to end with us coming face to face with our first Thargoid on foot? And then as each player who is now face to face with a Thargoid on foot, you're going to have to make that decision. Do you shoot him in the face with a shotgun? Do you run away? Do you try for, who knows, if you meet one that's, injured and you have an opportunity to use a med pack or something, who knows? But what if the reason why the story is sort of nebulous and is going to end sometime between Christmas and February-ish is because that's when they're projecting as a safe date that is past console release. So they're saying, we got this Azimuth storyline, we're going to sort of build and build and build and build and build, and then, but we for sure don't want to, put it to the big moment when we're not positive that everybody, including the console people, are going to be there. Any thoughts to that? Go for it. Tweet.
Yeah, I've been saying all along that I've kind of had that feeling that this storyline is going to lead us to the FPS with Thargoids, but they've got to stretch it out, like you said, so that those of us on Xbox and PlayStation can actually join in on the fun. And it would be a fun if that's what happens, and if there's some good things in the middle of the story that you choose and make you feel like you're actually doing something. It would be a spectacular way to go. I really hope that is what they're doing.
Boss Lady.
I just want to additionally point out the fact that all of us have been saying we really want something to happen that's going to change the world. We want that cataclysm in WoW. We want some sort of moment that's going to have some sort of big impact instead of just being a story. And from these clips, from those exact words, I think that's what we're going to be getting towards the end of the year. And like you said, probably once console is stable, everybody is in the world together, I think we're going to have some sort of a big choice where the community gets to decide the future of the galaxy that we're playing in.
Right on. All right. So that takes us to our next series of clips, which these ones are about one issue, which is the issue tracker. So let's check it out.
Do you have any updates on the issue tracker? We can't go into specific detail right now, but we are actually working on something which will be showing in the next coming weeks, which will alleviate some of the concerns that some people have where, you know, sometimes it can seem like things can get into the issue tracker and maybe not be seen. We're actually going to be, you know, heading that front on and working on that in the next couple of weeks. So we'll have more to share very, very soon on that one.
100%. Look, when I first joined, you know, I was sort of getting to grips with behind the scenes and all that sort of good stuff, bad stuff, etc., etc. One of the things that kept coming up is the issue tracker. It's fantastic having a forward-facing, I call it device because it makes it easier, so people can see what's being raised. However, it's not working properly. I think we all know that. I think we've had enough issues with the issue tracker as it is, excuse the pun. So we are actually working very hard with the QA team at the moment to revise some of the stuff that how it's used, how it's displayed, and we're hopefully going to have something to share on that sort of towards the end of June. I don't want to make too many promises on it because it's a fair old bit of spaghetti to unravel. But you're absolutely right. It needs to be clearer, and we also need to make sure that it's working as intended because there's a lot of stuff that the issue tracker currently doesn't do, which is a pain for all of us because, you know, it doesn't recognize duplicates, it doesn't put them together, so it makes it seem like there's a huge morass of stuff that's just there, and it isn't very clear, and you're absolutely right, so it is on my agenda to get fixed.
All right, so this is interesting because basically it's the same question asked in two different locations an hour away from each other. The first is, what about the issue tracker on Super Cruise News, on Frontier's official stream? And the answer is, yes, we're looking into it. We've got some exciting stuff, but we can't really give any details just now. We'll talk to you guys when we can. Then an hour later, on the non-official, not Frontier stream, on another source, Lave Radio, you got much more details in the answer. Yes, the problem with it is that it's a jumble of spaghetti code. It's not properly tracking things. It's not properly displaying things. It's not removing duplicates. We have all of these issues and we're working on them, and we're going to, you know, in a month or so, we're going to have you a better working something at it. We're going to, you know, we're going to have it better. And I'm not trying to be, you know, nitpicky here, but I think this clearly demonstrates to me sort of how Frontier so often misses the messaging. If all of this stuff was something that could be said openly and freely and publicly by their lead community manager on a public forum, why could they have not said those things to their own customers an hour earlier directly? Having said that, I'm super, super psyched for the issue tracker being fixed. I think it'll be awesome. All right. First up on this one is, I'm trying to look to see. Okay, Tweaked, and then Boss Lady, and then Black Maze.
All right. Do you see a trend here? Odyssey is kind of sort of broke, but we're going to make it better. Our communication is kind of sort of broke, but we're going to make it better. Our issue tracker is kind of sort of broke, but we're going to make it better. I mean, come on. Is there any part of this that is working properly? If they tell you don't report your troubles on the forums, don't give them to us on Twitter, don't give them to us on Facebook, put them to the issue tracker, and then they turn around and say, but the issue tracker's not really working all that well. So how are we supposed to give them the issues? It's almost laughable how nothing is working for them right now. At least nothing regarding Elite Dangerous, I should specify.
Boss Lady.
Oh my gosh, I am literally laughing because that's like the week I've had. They must be having such a bad time because yeah, it is. Tweaked hit it on the head. It's basically nothing's quite working as we intended. We're having to work on, I mean, that's so bad that they're having to work on the software for their issue tracker to be able to fix the issues that are coming up on the game. Oh man, they must be having they must need a really stiff drink. What I think about that is that they've done this, it's forced them to do what they're doing right now, which is to focus on an issue and to create a separate almost issue tracker, which you guys have talked about the last couple weeks. And so in a way, it is forcing them to come up with a new way of interfacing with the community. And I think that might lead to something better going forward. But ouch, ooh, I feel them right now.
And any comment on the fact that on two separate things, an hour away from each other, they're giving out more information now all of a sudden?
I think your point was really good because it is that kind of thing, like what, and it may just be a case of because it was a planned stream, they had kind of the points they had to get through. Arf thought about it afterwards and then went, oh, I have more information on this when he got on Lave, or that just the way that Lave runs their show left the opportunity for him to say more. I think actually that was great. And like you said, I would have loved for that to have been in the official one. And maybe there's something they can do to bring that into the official, more of that conversational talking about things, not just short form. Here's what you got done.
Yeah, as Sensei Jimbo in the chat says, we need an issue tracker. Black Maze.
Yeah, wow. The issue tracker. So, where to start? Just to sidetrack a little bit and talk about communication on this. Why is it that I need to watch live streams to learn this stuff? That's my first question, because I'm not somebody that watches streams very often. I have a day job. I don't watch their news stream every day because it's during work hours. And I don't know exactly where they set this, but why is this only on a live stream? I'm an active player. I report a shit ton of bugs, even to the point where the communities that I'm active in, they almost get tired of me because I'm asking for people to put their replications in, press the vote button. Guys, we need more votes because nobody is looking at the issue tracker thing that I've created. If we get more people talking about or putting the replication in, maybe they'll put their little acknowledged emblem on it. And so I get confused. I get demotivated to create these because my friends are getting sick of me asking them to help me create them. And then I'm hearing this. Honestly, this is the first time I'm hearing about it. Is you guys talking about it now, about them talking about improvements to the issue tracker? I had no idea this was even a thing. Why do I have to watch their live streams to learn about this?
I've got something to add to that, but I want to let Boss Lady hop in first. She wants to double down on something you said as well. Go.
I want to double down on this, and it's almost Kai may be mad at me because this is like phasing Elite Week out. No, so I come to Elite Week each week to learn these things. So even I'm a step further. I don't have time to watch the live stream because it's 2 to 3 hours each, twice a week. I don't have that much time to dedicate to just sitting there and listening to the live stream. I would like one source of media where I can go and find that out. And that's why I like Elite Week, because we get to find those information out. But what Black Maze brought up is a really good point. And it's what I've said a lot, which is if people don't know about the live stream, or like I used to be a commander that was not connected into the community. If you're checking Galnet and you see the Galnet articles, but you don't see the real life news for the game, like they're working on the issue tracker, there's no way a player is going to be able to find out about this information. So I do think there needs to be maybe something on the launcher or something, because even the forums are hard to get into and see that news. So I do think that's a really good point, Black Maze, because, we're there to play the game. We're not there to watch hours of live streams just to get the news,
Absolutely.
Yay, Elite Week.
Yeah, so thank you very much for the plug for Elite Week. That's awesome. The point that I was going to make, and it's very similar to what you were saying there, Boss Lady, is I think that for every development stream, for every developer stream, they have a list of announcements they're making. They're like checking, you see them looking over at the computer and like, oh, did I get all my points? There's some shared email or list that they're all reading about, through and checking them off as they go. I think that for every developer stream where they're making announcements, or community manager rather stream where they're making announcements, that number one, that all of those announcements should be dictated onto the forum.
Yes.
Number two, it should go in the community letter that people sign up for that right now just tells you, hey, here's a fucking paint job for your, Corvette. You could be like, no, and also here's the dictated announcements from the live stream this week. Oh, and also in the launcher, if you put it in every place, if they were to tweet it out and say, here's the stuff, I think more people would see it. And yes, there's a lot of times where people say, man, I don't want to waste 2 hours watching people play the game badly. I just want to know the information. If you tweet it, put it in the forums, and put it in the launcher, and put it in that weekly letter that they send out where they try to sell us paint jobs for ARCs, everyone will have a much better chance of seeing it. Everyone that wants to, or is interested enough to, will have a much better chance of seeing it, and they can, save 2 hours of their life and not watch people running around in a conflict zone. Just a thought. All right. This takes us to a big one. This one is going to be like 9 clips, so settle in, folks. But they're all short. They're bits and bobs. There's just all kinds of interesting things that were said. I do want to say this as sort of critical as I'm being on some things. I very much appreciated the amount of information from the Tuesday stream and the Lave Radio. I very much appreciated Art. They said, hey, we're going to do better with our communications. We're going to double down. The Thursday stream was an absolute waste of time, but the Tuesday stream was good and useful. And the Lave Radio, information that was released there was good and useful. So I do want to salute that. And here are a bunch of those sort of little bits and pieces.
BGS is high on our agenda. I've missed the last part of that question. I'm really sorry. We understand, obviously, it's caused some issue with BGS, and I'm not ignoring that because I know players sink thousands of hours into that collectively. So I'm super conscious of it, and we have big discussions about it. So please, if you have a huge issue with BGS, can you please just log a ticket and let us know. Is Vista Generics or Interstellar Factor to be added fleet carriers anytime soon? It's not. I have no news in it in terms of I can't tell you yes, it's going to be added. It's something that we know is awareness of what players want, so it's in discussion at the moment. Whether or not we'll be able to add it, I don't know. That's the honest answer, but I'll come back to you if that changes. Sharing missions with the team when update 5, which will be 3 weeks from now. Yeah, 3 weeks now. We'll be sharing missions. Any news on the darkness? Yes, we are well aware that there's like the optimization and the game's sort of how it looks is trust me, it was when the publishing meeting today. They have a working solution they're pushing through at the moment. If it all goes to light, it's bad.
Well, I guess that works.
Get the door and go. They are aware of the game. Essentially, look, it's broad strokes when I say this, and I'll get murdered for it, but I'll just talk the way I talk. The game's too dark. So that is being looked at as a priority, and we're hoping that we'll have that remedied by the next couple of weeks. That's the plan at the moment. But as I said, I'm going to be honest with you, and I will take you with the journey that I'm on. If we find out it doesn't work and we have to go back to the drawing board, I will tell you. Post update 5, it goes on to talk about the 2 big things I know you all care a lot about, and we care massively about, which is obviously optimization and the planetary tech and lighting. I have a 1080 Ti, my personal PC. It runs on high settings and I get 60 frames and it drops to 30 to 40 frames at settlements. Everyone's setup is different. This has been an issue that we weren't expecting and it's hit us really hard. That is just us being honest. It's not a quick fix for us to go in there and flick a switch. by God, if we could do that, we would absolutely go in there and flip that switch and fix it. We are gathering as much information as we can do, and we're bringing it all in, and we're gonna look to investigate how well we can do that. We wanted to be able to tell you on Thursday, but on Friday, so the 4th, I lobbied against it until we had a firm understanding of when we could get these fixes in. I don't want to rush the dev team to force an answer because they think they have to say something. I'd much rather give you the right answer, which we'll have at the end of June once they've collated everything, and be like, right, okay, we know where we sit with this. We know how easy or how difficult these optimization milestones will be. And once we have that information, we will pass that on. Will module storage increase anytime soon? It's on my list of things to push for. I haven't seen it come through as a definitive answer as yes, it's going to increase anytime soon, but I know it's an ask, so it's something I'm going back with. So I've seen a few questions about VR. I'll tell you what, I'll get Bruce to compile a list of questions around VR and what guys and girls want for VR answered, and I'll get those for you as soon as I can. So I won't say as soon as you can. I will get the answers for you by, let's give me a week, so next Tuesday. Cross-platform, there are no plans for cross-platform.
My kind of head goes tilt when I see the figures of a on-foot weapon having the same penetrative ability as a Class 1 railgun in a ship.
Yeah,
it's something in my mind that goes, hang on a minute, how could that? And it kind of breaks everything in my head. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where I'll be totally honest, because that's what I've agreed I'm going to be. And fairness, I'd have said this regardless. But in terms of balancing, that's stuff we can easily tweak behind the scenes and doesn't require some updates and such to do. So it will be constantly looked at. And to a point where you'll probably see us put out a forum post on it and just be like, what's working, what isn't working. As an example, I found a gun which I believe is game breaking. So I'm just like, I'm running around with it and abusing it, but I don't think it should be in the game. So, yeah, it certainly needs to be looked at. I can hand on my heart tell you there is stuff coming. And I don't mean like fixes and stuff. I can tell you there are features coming. But I need to, this, in the spirit of being honest, which I said that we would be, our priority right at this moment is making sure that Elite Dangerous Odyssey works as intended, and then we get the console version out for our console players. That is the focus, to make sure that our players, our community, have the game. So that's the honest answer, right? But there are features that will come.
There was a perception when the Xbox version was released that the PC version was downgraded to match the Xbox. Now, I'm hesitant to even ask this, but
ask the question. It's fine. You're going to ask me, will we see the same thing again before? So yeah. My honest answer is I don't know. If I don't have the answer to it, so I don't know the answer. I know that we have to make Elite Dangerous Odyssey work on Xbox One and PS4s, because that's, I think, I'm not sure if it's a legal requirement. I don't want to say it's a legal thing, but it's DLC for the game that's already on their system. Do I think it's going to look as good as it runs on a high-end PC? No, I don't. That's me being 100% honest, because I just don't think the Xbox One or the PS4 has that tech.
Okay, so that's him being 100% honest again. How many people took your 17 shots for that last little round of clips? Yeah. So I want to start sort of out of order. I want to do the last one first, and then we'll go back in order. That last clip, and feel free to, if you're watching it later on video on demand, or if you're going to watch the highlight clip later in the week, feel free to pause right now, go back and re-listen after I explain to you what you just heard, and let it sink in and melt your brain. Literally, Colin from Lave Radio asked Art, and he was embarrassed to ask it. He actually sort of tried to bail on the question mid-go because he was like, oof, this is awkward. He said there was a perception when Horizons was released, that, and it came out on Xbox, that the game was released on Xbox, that they nerfed the PC graphics to bring it in line with the Xbox. And then he kind of was like, because that's a thing that the company has vehemently denied till now. And Art sort of jumped in and said, no, go ahead and ask it. You're saying, is it going to happen again? Which, when you say that, you are either A, in fairness, I have to give him this to be fair, maybe he misspoke, which would not be a great thing for a professional spokesperson who knows he's being broadcasted, but it would be better than the alternative. The alternative is when you say, is it going to happen again? You're saying that it already happened the first time, which, oof. But then he goes on to answer, I honestly don't know. So I honestly don't know, parentheses, if it will happen again. And then I'm going to be honest with you, honesty, I'm so honest. And then he says, in the end, I don't think that the Xbox and the PlayStation can, keep up with the graphics of the PC. So, yeah. There's sort of 3 separate levels to that which concern me. The first is, did he just confirm what we've all sort of known but nobody would ever admit to before? That they did throttle graphics on the PC back when they launched it on the Xbox, and or maybe he misspoke. And is this a concern that it might happen again? Tweaked.
Yeah, I wasn't around when it first launched on Xbox, so I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you whether or not PC had better graphics before they launched on Xbox. I did hear those same rumors when it launched on PlayStation that both Xbox and PC were dumbed down a little bit. I can't imagine they would want to do that. And as far as his comments where he doesn't believe that it's going to run as good or be as good looking on Xbox One and PS4, that doesn't really hurt my feelings that he said that, because I think what we're seeing right now is they can barely get it to work on your high-end PCs. The optimization is so bad. The frames per second is so bad in the stations and whatnot. That's never going to fly on the Xbox One and the PS4. That technology is almost a decade old now. Almost goes to, I believe I said a few weeks ago that it would be a rough thing for a good portion of the console community. But I almost wonder if they wouldn't have just been better off building it for the Series X and the PS5, which is much more in line with a gaming computer. It seems like they're having trouble getting it to that point, and I'm scared of what it's going to do to the overall product for what they try to do to get it to that point.
Boss Lady.
That's a good point. I was literally thinking that right while you were talking, Tweaked. I went, what about, aiming for the PS5 and the, the new Xbox? It's a trick, because personally, I have to say I'm biased on this issue because I have been having so many issues just trying to stream Odyssey, and it's forced me to completely update the whole way I do everything. And I know I'm not the only person, and so it's a weird one. So going back, I have to go back and then I'll get back to that point. So going back to the difference between Arf saying, this was done before. Remember, he is a player of the community. So he might have an opinion from before he was the community manager where, he thought that was the case. It may not be a case of inside information on that. Like Kai said, maybe it's a misspoken or something like that. But that could be one of those outside idea concepts, not so much inside information. I've been looking forward to the fact that because of Xbox and PS4, they're going to have to optimize Odyssey even further, because the thing that I loved about Elite is that someone on a shitty laptop could play the game, that, anybody can stream the game because it's not going to wreck their computer. And the thing about Odyssey that's been heartbreaking for me personally is having to spend, thousands of dollars to upgrade. But to see so many people knocked out of it, and that's kind of, I know this is going to throw a wrench in everything, but that's the difference between Elite and Star Citizen. Star Citizen is a very resource intensive game. I know. And Elite has always been really accessible. So I do hope in a way that I don't want us to get nerfed graphics, but I do really hope it pushes them to optimize and allow more people to be able to get into the game again.
Honestly, I think Star Citizen's been running as smooth or smoother than Odyssey lately, but yeah. Black Maze, you're up.
Yeah, I almost sidetracking. I just wanted to say 07 again. You got all these clips together, and it was all news for me. Like I hadn't seen any of that, and there's so much acknowledgement and confirmation that I wouldn't have known about otherwise.
Thank you.
If I hadn't heard them here.
Why, thank you. And your thoughts on? I guess we can leave that be. You don't have to comment on it.
All I can say about the graphics, like we went to a different game engine upgrade, right? And it's a huge topic, and very shortly, I wonder whether it was the right decision. There must be 100 technical reasons why they decided to upgrade their engine and then sort of like rebuild the game up, because in I think with a lot of systems they've had to, all these assets that they ported over from the old engine, the materials, that now have to work with their new lighting system, that is the PBR lighting system. Suddenly all those materials don't behave the same way anymore, so they've got to tweak everything. There'll be thousands, countless of materials and textures that need retouching. And sometimes I wonder if you've got this game that is 8 years old. Is it 8 years? I think so. Is it smart to go and upgrade the entire thing, or would it be smarter to stay on the tech that we've all gotten used to, and work with the limitations you have in order to continue to support the older consoles and stuff like that?
Right on. All right, so the other clips that were there, and there were many, so we're going to run through them fast because they were sort of smaller. One or two of them we're going to stop and take some time on. The first was BGS is screwy in EDO, and they know it. They're aware that BGS is screwy in Odyssey, and they want people to put in tickets. Ticks are happening in different times. Different things are happening in ways that they shouldn't. People are offering missions to, kill your own faction people. Like, there are definite issues, and they're going to deal with that. I have faith. The next issue was Vista Genomics and other Odyssey amenities being added to fleet carriers. Let's take a moment and really look at this one. I think that this is a absolute must have. I think that there is no way that you can sort of release a bunch of main modules like Vista Genomics. People keep saying, "Oh, you should have Ad Astra in your fleet carrier." You already do. Ad Astra is just the on-foot version of the shipyard. Ad Astra does nothing different than a shipyard, unless I'm mistaken about something. So you have a shipyard in your fleet carrier already. You don't need Ad Astra, but you should have, I believe, Vista Genomics. You should have, I believe, a Pioneer Supply, and you don't even necessarily, if they're like, we don't want to make a concourse for the fleet carriers because that's like extra whatever, like you can just copy the existing concourse, but if you don't want to do that for whatever reason, just put in a menu where you have Pioneer Supply, so that if you are somebody that's out there on the ass end of the galaxy, you can hit up your local DSSA Jiffy Mart, and you can buy your little suit, your Artemis suit with your plant gun. As of the change that they made with the patch this week, yesterday, every Pioneer Supply sells the level 1 of every suit. So at least you know that if you put Pioneer Supply in a fleet carrier, you will get the plant gun, which is, I think, very, very important. But the main one to me that's important is you got to have the Vista Genomics, and you got to have more so the Vista Genomics than anything else, because the one for the mercenary bonds, if you're getting mercenary bonds, you're close enough to somewhere where you can actually turn them in anyways. But Vista Genomics and getting a plant gun is something that I think that should be added to fleet carriers. And going forward, whenever they add new stuff to the game, I think they should offer it one time. They should offer it the first time you log in and go to your fleet carrier management screen. If you're out anywhere in the galaxy, it should say, hey, Do you want to set aside the cost for Vista Genomics? Do you want to set aside the cost for this service or that service? Because those people who are out there already 50, 80,000 light years that away as part of the DSSA, they shouldn't have to come all the way back to get the module. Like, it's being added to the game just the same way as when they added Horizons, they added to all of the ships. If you have a ship that, you know, could have it, they added the the landing approach suite or whatever. They should give all fleet carrier owners, when they flip the switch on Odyssey, the opportunity to have those modules if they want to pay whatever is the fair cost that they figure for those. Boss Lady, you're up.
So this is one that's also near and dear to my heart. I really, really, really was hoping when we booted into Odyssey, we would have the option to at least choose one suit. Now, I get why they want us to go to a concourse, go into it, but thousands upon thousands of explorers had to trek their way in just to buy the suit and then go right back out. So it was just kind of a silly detour that was thrown into it. I really, really think that it's important that be able to buy that exploration suit it should be allowed. It should be allowed on the fleet carriers. Now, Vista Genomics is a must. And this is something that Frontier did really well with the fleet carrier beta. When they rolled out the fleet carrier beta, we did not have universal cartographers. And what they said at the time was, we want people to come back in. We want to give people a reason to come back in, but we hear the community, and bing, bang, bong, they got it in there. They got it in when the fleet carriers went live. Everybody said the same thing when we were testing out Odyssey Alpha, and we said we need to have Vista Genomics. Now, I think most people here know why, but I'm just going to explain this. If you die on foot or in an SRV or in any sort of silly way that happens a lot while you're exploring, you now lose all of your information. So before you died in an SRV, no problem, you're back in your ship. Now you die in an SRV, you lose your exploration data, you lose all of the plant samples that you have gotten over however long you are, and if you're out in the middle of nowhere, not close to Explorer's Anchorage in Sag or Colonia, you're screwed. You have to be so careful. And there might be one part of the community that says, oh, well, that makes it even more dangerous, more exciting. But as an explorer, losing that is devastating and has made people quit the game before. So please, please, please put Vista Genomics turn-ins on fleet carriers. Please do. Did I break Kai? Is Kai gone?
I'm here.
Okay.
100% I agree with you on Vista Genomics. I think there's an alternative to... I think... Look, having a level 1 Maverick suit only cost, what, $100,000 or whatever. It's pocket change. They could have just literally said, yes, you want the combat suit, you got to go buy it at the store. You want the Tinker suit, you got to go buy it at the store. But the exploration suit, the Artemis suit, that's the one that just everybody gets for free. Just the same way as when you buy Horizons, you literally get, okay, here you go. You can have a free little buggy with in your Sidewinder to start. Like they just give it to you for free because you bought the thing. I say you give them $40, they give you the stupid plank gun for free. And that way, everybody, it doesn't matter. If I was on Distant Worlds 2 and then retired from the game and come back 5 years later and say, I want to play this game. I see this thing with plants. That looks cool. But I'm 50,000 light years away from anything. Yeah, you should be able to just say, hey, I paid my $40. They gave me the stupid plant suit. It's one thing. It's just one. Just the one. Black Mace.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think everyone should really just have access to all the suits, really. Just a base suit, why not? Who cares? To respond to what Boss Lady was saying about, when you die on foot and losing all your data, I think something that would be really nice is, let's say that you've scanned a bunch of stuff and you're on foot or you get in your Scarab. It would be really, really nice that it sort of worked like data or inventory. And if you would dock up with your ship, it's now safe in your ship, And if you die on foot, that's fine. You respawn in your ship, but your data is fine. It's tied to your ship. I think it's really weird that the data, and I think it was Osashis that first told me about this. I think it's really silly that the data is tied to your human, whether you dock and undock with your ship or not. It's such a weird concept.
Yeah, it is interesting. Although they've sort of, I think, don't quote me on this. That may have been changed with Odyssey. I know of somebody who said, hey, I died and I still have my combat bonds. What's up with that? It may be that it was a bug. Probably it's a bug. Or it may just be a feature they didn't tell us about still. We'll see. The next point was team missions. They're coming after patch 5, so the end of the month of June. Yay. I mean, the fact that there were 0 wing missions, or team missions now they're called, in Odyssey was just weird, so that's good. The next was kind of a big point. They acknowledged flat out, they said it on the stream, the company stream, the game is too dark. We know that. There's a bug, there's a problem, there's a something, we're working on it. I thought that was pretty cool. I was definitely interested in that. Black Maze?
Wow. Yeah, I forgot about that actually. Again, so watching the videos that you compiled for us just there, that was the very first time that I have ever heard an acknowledgement from EvDev in relation to this. That was a shocker. When I just heard it for the first time, I was like, wow, they've actually said the game is too dark. It's been how long? I respect what he said in relation to we're trying to fix it. It might take some time. That's cool. I don't care how long it takes you. If you've told me that there's an issue you're trying to fix, that's perfect. But why, again, is this in a live stream, in a one-liner? Why is this not acknowledged on the forum or on the launcher or wherever in writing so I can read it when I have time?
Black Maze, clearly because Frontier Development loves Elite Week, and they want to make sure everyone watches.
Hell yeah.
All right, so the next thing was post-update 5, they are going to be working on optimization and planet tech, both of which they acknowledge are a problem. The next point was module storage increase. They said, yes, we're going to do that. Well, we're working on it. We're looking into it. We're whatever. He kind of started a little more sort of forceful or like more confirming. And then he kind of went back and said, well, you know, it's a thing that I'm definitely pushing for. Okay, cool. After that, VR answers. Yes, I see VR questions. You know, we at Elite Week have been trying to make sure that we're inclusive to all of our commanders, brothers and sisters out there, whether that be the PC console divide, whether that be the pancake versus or flat screen versus VR divide. We've been supportive of basically all of the different people and hoping that everyone sort of gets their piece of cake. So it was good to see this. He didn't confirm anything as far as, hey, you're getting this or that. He just, we're going to address some of your questions and concerns. Right now, they're in the hot seat. They're feeling the pressure, and they know that everybody's pissed off at them. This is the perfect time to try to push for some kind of answer, some kind of acknowledgement, some kind of, any kind of forward momentum for your cause, for your community, for your viewpoint. And he started to say, I'll get back to you later, then caught himself and said, actually, I will get an answer for you on Tuesday. I'll give you in a week. So it was Tuesday. So I'll have an answer for you next Tuesday. Here's a little thing, though, and it wasn't in the clip. He's going on vacation on Monday. He's got next week off. So he's going to have to get somebody else to answer that question, because I guarantee you next week on Elite Week, if we have not gotten an answer on Tuesday, we will raise it, and we could play the same clip, and we can say, hey, man, remember how you said you were going to do better and that you're a man of your word? Well, you promised something that never happened. So now that we've said that out loud, and I happen to know that several of them listen, hopefully you'll get an answer. The next point, we're going to stop on this one. He just threw it as a one-liner. It was like a 6-second clip. Cross-platform. We have no plans for cross-platform. Next. And just moved right along. Who wants to go first on the cross-platform issue? I have a feeling that Tweak does. Go for it, Tweak.
Yep, you know that I do. No cross-platform on the roadmap for now. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Now, I know Elite Dangerous is a complicated game, but a few years ago, crossplay was pretty rare, right? So I understood it. Didn't see it on almost anything. Now, I turn on my Xbox, and there's at least a dozen games right off the bat that are cross-platform. I can play Ark with PC friends. I can play Fortnite. I can play Forza. I can play all kinds of games with PC friends, with PlayStation friends. And it's the wave of the future. It is just a thing that's becoming more and more common, but FDev just seems to be blind to this. They seem to be blind to something that a bulk of their community wants. I think Boss Lady said it a little while ago. She was surprised at the 70,000 a day number because you fly around the galaxy and you don't see anybody. Guess what? If we had crossplay, you'd see more people. The galaxy would fill up. It'd be more exciting. I don't get it. It's frustrating, really.
In fairness, Tweak, I don't think it's fair to say that it's something that they're blind to. It's something that takes a lot of work. But I agree with you 100%. It's something that the community is telling them is worth the work at this point. It's time for it. Black Maze, you're up.
So what I've been led to believe is that peer-to-peer networking is beautiful, a beautiful platform for crossplay. Don't quote me on that. I'm not technical enough to make that statement, but I've been told. Take a game like No Man's Sky. I've understood that's peer-to-peer, and the crossplay in that is phenomenal. With that in mind, yeah, I too am surprised there is no crossplay. We have the Elite Racers community for sure, where we have Xbox racers and PS4 racers, and we never get to play together. It's such a shame.
Absolutely. And Boss Lady, you're wrapping this one up. I think you're muted.
Oh, sorry. I have to click the right thing. Sorry. This is part of the technical issues because of Odyssey. So I agree. I completely agree. And I'll just say from a community standpoint, being able to do things with everybody in one place at one time would just be a dream. And it's strange since their goal is to make the world more populated, to get people in there playing together, that it's not on the books, that it's not high on the goals that they're talking about.
Takes us to the next point, which is, all right, Tweak, you got one more on this? Go for it.
Yeah, I kind of do. If you remember early on in the Odyssey media blitz, I guess, one of the things that FDev was really stressing on all fronts, and I believe you interviewed Al Hibbert on this very channel, and he stressed it, was bringing the community together, players playing with players, players interacting with each other. And this is just another way they could have really brought that together, because they really haven't in many ways with Odyssey to this point, and crossplay would have really done that.
I disagree. I think that Odyssey has done a phenomenal job of bringing all the players together to express their unhappiness with the way Frontiers launched Odyssey.
I knew you were going to say that.
All right. Yeah. Wah, wah, wah. Next point was on Lave Radio, where Art was pressed, and he was a little uncomfortable, was pressed on, hey, man, what about the balance between on-foot gameplay and ship gameplay? Now, I actually showed Shan, I sent Shan a picture showing the DPS, the raw DPS of a grade 5 plasma weapon versus a in-ship, that's on foot rather, versus a ship level 1, size 1 railgun. And that the plasma weapon actually does more damage than the ship weapon. And so I may have sort of set a little trap there that, and Art's response was, yeah, man, my plasma shotgun, I think that's broken. It's way too good. It shouldn't be in the game, but I'm enjoying it while I got it. But for sure, we should make some changes on that stuff. Black Maze.
I don't remember, maybe this was during alpha or even before, probably even before. There was the magic word, combat triangle. This was before alpha for sure. Combat triangle. It was going to be ships, SRVs, and people on foot, right? Where is that? I honestly think with the features that we have in the game right now, this combat triangle doesn't really exist. And for that matter, I don't know how important it is that ship weapons, or I should say that on foot weapons are so strong against ships, because they hardly ever meet, but I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, no, so the combat triangle turned into a combat sphere, and then the combat sphere just fucked right off. Nobody's heard from it ever again. So yeah, there was that. Then the last one was, hand on my heart, new features are coming. That was great to hear, because they've never put it anywhere on the forums, on the whatever. That was very, very good to hear, that it's like, hey, it's not just bug fixes. There are new features coming to the game. I was very, very pleased with that. Anybody have anything on that before we start the next section? Go ahead, Tweet.
Yeah, my first reaction was much like you. That's so refreshing to hear they have a vision for something down the line. But then I got to thinking, I said, well, wait a second. If it's not crossplay and it's not interiors, so what is the vision? Because you're not specifying on anything. Is it more garbage on the floor of a zero-G station kind of thing, or what are we doing? And I got to thinking, the only kind of content that would please me more than those other two things, or as much maybe, would be full atmospheric landings but that would be with like things to do, things to see on these planets. And I can't trust or believe that they're going down that road right now or anytime soon. So
Tweet, you sweet.
I wonder if these features that are coming, they have features planned. Are these features that were supposed to be here at launch that they couldn't get out in time, and they're just going to use them for future stuff to give to us now? I don't know.
Yes. So first off, with your idea of full atmospheric landings, you sweet, sweet summer child, that's not happening for years. Here are some examples of features that could happen that I would be very pleased with. New ships, new SRVs, doing something with the whole plant gun to make it an actual loop instead of just point and win. Doing something with engineering, or sorry, not engineering, the scavenging that would be more than just cut open something the size of a lunchbox, click 3 things, you win. There's lots that they could do that would be great, and I'm excited, and I'm not going to let you make me not happy about it yet. Black Mace.
I think there's a point to what Tweak is saying. I just remembered. First, again, what you're saying, Kai, I think there's going to be lots of little things. Absolutely. New weapons, SRV, whatever. To what Tweak was saying, something that's bothered me from the start of all the promotional video we got. We saw lots of promotional shots with blue skies, right? And I scoured these shots and I looked over them, and there are genuinely shots where you will not see any star in the sky above their bases. And then there was that live stream with Dr. K. Ross where she talked about these atmospheric worlds and the visible stars. And she commented, well, you guys are just being silly. Of course there's going to be stars visible because these are tenuous atmospheres. They are very, very light. So I had a bit of I was confused at that because I was like, well, you showed it in the promotional video. So it's a bit strange. So then I had a look, right? Mars. You can't see stars on Mars. So I had a look at the atmospheric density there, and it is, so Earth at sea level is 1 atmosphere. Mars is 0.006. And that is enough to hold sand in the air to obscure stars. 30% Earth's gravity, I believe, something like that. And that confused me. So I went and had a look in game. I had a look at EDSM to see what can we actually land on. And we can land on planets that are as dense as let me get this right, 0.098, which is close to 0.1. So that's 10% of Earth's gravity, almost.
Atmosphere.
And that, atmospheres, 0.1 atmosphere. And that confused me. So I'm thinking they're holding back, long story short, I think they're holding back with some of these slightly denser worlds that we might get later on that do obscure stars. But it's like a thing that's going to come later.
That would be cool. We're not getting water worlds and earth-like worlds just yet, but that would be cool at least. Yes, yes. All right. So that's going to take us to our next section of videos, which is on monthly dev updates. This, to me, is where stuff starts to get really, really good.
Post update 5, once we so at the end of June, we'll be able to deliver to you sort of where we're at, when we'll talk to you about like where we're sitting, we think Odyssey sits, and where we're going to be focusing our attention, and then where we look at performance and sort of planetary tech, etc. That's going to come at the end of June. That gives us a time to assess it. In terms of our comms that goes after that, every single month we're going to have a developer. We haven't decided a name yet. Again, in the spirit of being honest, you haven't named anything yet. We're going to have a show with key members of development that are going to come on and talk and bring us all through the journey of development. So how it's going to sit with the optimization, how console development is going, what features we can talk about, because there are features that will be coming into Odyssey that we are keeping and we'll be adding in as extras to the game, which I think are really, really cool and really, really fun. And we'll do that month on month.
Yes. No, look, so I think, again, it is written in there in terms of like in that roadmap afterwards, in terms of like we will discuss new features that will be added to Odyssey, because there are new features that will be added to Odyssey in between, so like towards the next big, so I guess when it's console, it comes out. So with console and then beyond, there are more stuff to come in. That's being worked on right now in terms of how we're going to deliver that and how we're going to display that to everyone. Which is why I've said and the one thing I'm very keen on, and I'll be very honest about this, is I don't want to knee-jerk to everything. So when someone says, you need to do this, and then we come up tomorrow and we say something, I'm like, it's cool, I get people are pissed, but I'd rather wait until the end of June, get the information so we're very clear and internally are very clear on what we're delivering and when, and then I can speak with confidence and allow my team to speak with confidence about what's coming. So that's why I've said, look, give us the end of June, let's assess everything, like the issues which I know have come up a lot, performance, pantry tech, etc. We need that time to go through all those files, look at what's been fixed, look at how things are running, to assess like when and where that can be addressed. And then also, that's why I've said every single month there'll be a developer, and I haven't got a name for it, but a developer show where they'll come on, we discuss what's going on, and we discuss potential sort of roadmap milestones, as it were, which is in terms of like how we get on with development, how's console coming along, what features can we expect, how many features are we going to be adding, all that sort of stuff. I would like to give these answers out. And even if we say it'll be 4 features, show one of them and keep 3 back as a surprise, then I'd rather do that. I'd rather, as I said before, I'd rather be confirmed and tell people the answer than just say nothing.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, end of June, there will be like, this is what's coming at the end of June. We'll have an update for you on everything, but please allow us this time to get to the end of June so we can at least get all this in order and be like, right, we know when we can say what, how, when, and where we are development-wise. I understand that talk is cheap, and that is one thing I'll take on all of my chins. But on the flip side of that, I will say that we've set out like once a month, we'll have developers on, we'll talk about actual milestones of development of both Odyssey on PC and the console release we build up to it. And then we plan to intend to go on beyond the launch of console as well, and keep that momentum going and be like, right, here's what we want, here's some direct feedback from players to actually talk to the devs. And that's not just to say we'll just do that once a month. We'll probably have like special shows where we get guys to come and talk specifically about a certain thing.
All right, so that's good stuff. Now, again, this might be stuff that people had not heard, but end of month of June, they're going to have a breakdown for us on where they're at with the planetary tech, the lighting, and optimization. And every month after that, they're going to have developers on for a special monthly, once a month, developer update where they discuss milestones on new features, the console development, as how the console is coming along, other things with optimization, and future features. I will point out one thing. He said, like, even if it means, we tell you there's 4 features coming and we tell you what one of them are and we hold 3 back to be a surprise. Yeah, don't do that. We're not children at Christmas. We already paid for all this shit. You didn't get it done. You're now telling us we're going to tell you about the stuff that you're already owed that we're going to give you several months from now. Just be as open and honest as you can. There's no reason to try to have a Cracker Jacks box surprise and say like, "Oh, we didn't tell you about this." No, just tell us the stuff, man. We need you to tell us the stuff. You said you're going to do better with communication. Part of that is not keeping pointless secrets. Tweak, you go first.
All right, there was a couple things here, really. One, the first thing that I took out of this, being a console player, was, wait, there's going to be new features at console launch? So, like, I maybe haven't seen everything in Odyssey that I'm going to get when it comes out. That was eye-opening for me personally, because I've said it before, part of the huge downer for us console players is, especially if you're like me and you're watching all these streams and you're looking at trying to learn about all this stuff, is there's nothing new. I've seen it all already. So when I get to play with it, it's going to be stuff that I've already seen. So the fact that there might be a few new things, that's encouraging. Dev diaries, or I guess you could call them dev diaries, every month going on out. What a brilliant idea. It's almost like they've already done this at one point or something. It would be spectacular if we could have different devs on every month and give us an update on what they're working on, how we're going to balance this, how we're going to get rid of logging to get your mats, how we're going to get rid of that, how we're going to balance this. It's so much could happen if they actually stick to this plan.
Absolutely. Black Maze.
I got nothing.
Okay. Boss Lady.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Kai, on that one. It's like, you know, it would be nice to have a surprise. We expected a surprise when Odyssey went live, and I don't really need a surprise. I want something to look forward to. It's like, yeah, when you're a kid, you don't want to know what's in your Christmas presents, but when you're an adult, you want to plan your vacation. That's where we're at. And I want to plan my vacation. So please, thank you. Yes.
What kind of kid were you? I always wanted to know what was in my presents. I would shake them and hold them upside down and try to get the weight. Wow. Okay.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. Next up, and this one's going to be a little interesting. This one's going to lead into actually a segment that Black Maze is going to do. I'm going to play you 3 clips of them talking about Planet Tech this week. And then Black Maze is going to have a little talk of his own about Planet Tech. So let's hear what they have to say first.
Someone's asked, is the Planet Tech works as intended? So if you're asking, is it working as intended? No, and there's multiple levels for that, okay? And I don't want to go in and overstep my mark with Dev. I think we've cleared this up. There's some issues around graphical issues that are compounding other issues. So there's a huge sphere around unintentional puns today, Zach. It's like bingo. There's a lot
even clock that one.
Stuff at work here with Planetary Deck. It's not just about a button you press. And also, I want players to understand that you're seeing things that shouldn't be displayed the way they should be displayed. There are clearly graphical errors that are being remedied and fixed every single update. So we want to get to update 5 and see how that works. And then we'll take a look at the bigger picture.
I think it's a fair comment. And I do think it's one of the things we didn't stress enough, which comes down to poor communication on our part. It's just explaining that when that button was pressed, just the impact that would have. And I don't think we stressed that. Now, I know we said it, but this is saying it and saying it, right? And I don't think we said it enough when we were like, look, this is what happened when the planets will change. It was more like it was a response to a question. And that's poor form, and I take it on the chin. I'm not going to make excuses because people aren't here for excuses. It's just accepting and moving on. There are bugs and errors that are making these planets look far worse than they should look like. And hopefully we'll get those fully ironed out before update 5 comes in later on in June. But again, it's one of those things where if at the end of it all, we sit down and we go like, right, we've done all we can do. We've got it in. It is working as it is. But and again, forgive me, I'm talking layman's terms when I do this. But if we look at the end of this and we say, right, we've got it all in. This is how we think it's working. We will look and we will see how the community reacts to all the planets that people find in Odyssey. Now, I wanted to stress here, I'm not ignoring people saying they can't find these planets, or I'm not saying like they're wrong. What I'm saying is it's been 2 weeks and 2 days since Odyssey's come out. So give it some time. And if at the end of that we think, no, this just isn't good enough, we need to get this better, then potentially we could look at redoing all the geometry stuff, potentially. But that is no way an easy thing. And this is what going back to my previous question. When players say, "Oh, just push the button," it doesn't work that way. You can't just go in there and redo the Galaxy. I know I joke about it on stream about with K press this big red button, but it really isn't as easy as that. I would just say we're looking at it, we're investigating what players are finding, and if it turns out to be this huge issue, then of course we'll address it.
All right, so that's Art saying flat out, the Planet Tech is not working the way it's supposed to. There are bugs, but not getting into details. So it may be that there are bugs, but there are also past that sort of design philosophy problems with what they did with the Planet Tech. And he says that we should have the Planet Tech working by the end of the month of June as we want it. After that, after patch 5, if people see it working as intended and they still have a problem with it, well, that's going to be a serious issue. But he did not rule out, he said that, it would be possible at that point that they would revisit making some kind of further adjustment to it. Now, does anybody have anything on this before Black Maze hops into his piece on the Planet Tech? All right, go ahead, Tweet.
Yeah, I thought on one hand it was good that he acknowledged that it wasn't working properly, but he kind of spoke out of the other side of his mouth too when he said, well, it's only been running for 2 weeks and 2 days now, so not everybody's found the good shit out there yet. So I thought that was kind of an odd thing for him to say, but it was good to hear that they're acknowledging the Planet Tech is broken on multiple levels. So hopefully, I think it's kind of a naive or maybe a cute thing to think that they're going to have it mostly done by the end of June. I'd be surprised if they could get that fixed that quickly, but here's hoping.
Boss Lady.
It is very refreshing to hear them admit that it is not working correctly, and I'm looking forward to Black Maze's talk on this, because I think he's going to echo anything that I could say.
Yeah, as for me, I'm going to hold off on judging it until I see after when they say, like, okay, it's all working properly now, bugs are gone. I'm going to hold off on that till my final judgment. But I will say this. While he said there are clearly bugs that are making it worse, they didn't say, but the underlying whatever is this or that or the other. Like, he could have gotten into more details to say what are bugs and what are features, and he specifically chose not to, or just did not for whatever reason. So having said all of that, while I'm withholding my judgment, I am a little suspicious and a little wary about where this is going. And with that, Black Maze, do you want to start? How did we land on this? Do you want to start with your explanation and then do the video, or start with the video?
Yeah, well, I'll talk for a bit. But honestly, you guys are putting the pressure on here. I mean, I didn't prepare a proper rant for this. But first, I had a question because I heard Arthur again. I'm listening to this communication from Arthur in the Elite Week stream about the live stream from FDev. So that communication is complete news to me as well. And some of the shit that I have been bitching about and was about to bitch about, and I guess I still will, is in relation to the fact that there is no communication. So again, hearing this now on their stream, I'm like, dude, I've created 2 forum posts that have blown up with 30,000 views or 100,000 views. What is it? Thousands of pages by now, or 100 pages. And I don't know. It's got so many replies with people posting examples. Why is there not a single community manager that has gone in there and said, guys, we're aware of this. Don't worry. We're checking it out. Why is that only happening on the bloody stream? That confuses me to no end, because I'm sitting here raging, wondering, are you going to acknowledge this? And then they do on a stream, and I wasn't even aware about it.
Yeah.
So that's the first point that just confuses me.
Fair enough. I guess they just really want you to watch Elite Week. I don't know what else to say. It's bad. At this point.
That's cool. No, that's cool. So in very quick in summary, I've been talking about
Dear Dr.
K-Ross. Start. In alpha, it was a little bit vague because we could only see so many planets. in the beginning we only had apex, so everything you saw was in approach from apex or on foot with your own ship. It was a bit vague. We didn't know. And then when we did raise concerns, obviously the main message was, you know, this is an alpha branch. There's stuff from the planetary tech that isn't in there. And that's all been reiterated, and that was clear, and we waited. And then obviously there was the launch, and it was a bit of a shocker. And I did... well, initially, I made a video with some surprises, and then I put it on the forum, and there was lots of talk there about other people with other examples that were even more blatant than the ones that I found. And I guess, you know, to preface any criticism, Elite really is my mojo. I play it because I love it. I love exploring, mining, racing, driving, all of it. And then we have Odyssey, the DLC, and it kind of broke the planets. Again, most people know about it by now, but I guess what I should say about it in summary is that all of the planets are tiling, you know, in case people aren't aware of the issue. So you'll have one planetary feature that you see on a planet, and then if you follow the band around the planet, you'll see all those same features repeating, which was a shock. And by now we know, especially with Arthur's message there, even though it wasn't specific, that is probably a bug and will get fixed. A bigger shocker, though, is today or yesterday we found out that there are planetary features, like imagine a canyon ridge in a certain shape that you can find on one planet, and you will find exactly the same canyon set on a different planet. And I think this was a big fear that lots of people had. We had Dr. K. Ross come onto one of the live streams, of course, during the alpha, I think, talking about planetary tech. And she mentioned that they went from a Horizons mathematical system that generated canyons to a system that uses, let's say, handcrafted pieces, and then there is this complex system that will place these across the planet in a logical way. And I was like, oh boy, how is that going to work? Like, I get it, but how are you going to randomize that enough that it becomes unrecognizable? And certainly they have failed. So there was someone on the forum that posted a picture literally with two planets that weren't anywhere near each other. I mean, it doesn't matter if they were, but they had the exact same canyon ridge. And that was a big shocker for me. So I made I guess you're going to show the video I gave you, right?
Absolutely. As soon as you're done.
Yeah, cool, man. So
the picture's up on screen.
So here's the thing. If I raise a concern and I see that there are so many people, so many other people also raising that same concern, of course, there's lots of people saying like, dude, there are some gorgeous Odyssey planets out there. And I agree with you. There is some really pretty stuff out there. But if I see other people acknowledging the concerns that I have with even worse examples that I personally could find, and there is no response from FDev, I'll just keep shouting. I'll just get louder and louder, you know? And that's why when I saw this latest example, I ended up making a letter. I hate to use the term open letter because all I'm trying to do is get my point across. So I wrote a little letter in Notepad, put it in a video, spoke the words, and checked out what the community thought of that. And there was lots of support for it. Of course, again, there's some people that say, dude, it's not all that bad. There's some people that now made me aware, you know, Arthur did speak about it a little bit. So take into consideration what you're about to hear is with the full assumption that there has been absolutely no word from FDev other than in one of the patch notes, a message stating, you know, there's more to come on this. Again, I'm getting louder and louder the less I hear. And in the end, I just want to keep unique planets that are worthy of exploration, and I'm fighting for that thing that I love. That's all it is.
I respect that totally. You want me to go ahead and play the video now?
Yeah, go right ahead.
All right.
Dear Dr. K. Ross, thank you, the Planetary Tech team, and the entirety of Frontier for all the incredible work you've done to give us landable planets during the release of Horizons. Because of your work, I've been able to do something I've always dreamt of. To reach for the stars and discover. One of my favorite aspects of Elite is that thing that is always waiting for me across the horizon. The next exploration trip. While playing the game normally and going through all the hoops of regular gameplay, I always know I have that one prospect to look forward to. To go out and explore the countless unique worlds and see what they have in store. When Horizons launched, there was a lot of work to do to get the planets looking as amazing as they do now. Because the tech was new, people were patient and it really did pay off. The planets are quite something to behold. You gave us incredible planets to look at from any point of view and from any distance. Their colors look natural and their features were visible from high in the sky. After picking out something that looked interesting, one would descend down and find more detail creeping into view as they got closer. Vast canyons with sharp ridges, random flow in the terrain, and you'd be guaranteed that you discovered something unique each time you looked down. You mentioned during a livestream, I quote, "For Horizons, that terrain is generated entirely mathematically. There was a lot of effort put into representing the kind of shapes a hill or canyon makes, just using maths." End of quote. And it works brilliantly. The canyons and other terrain features created with the Horizons tech can be truly breathtaking. You also mentioned, I quote, "To look forward to whatever comes next for Odyssey, I wanted a system that was robust enough to handle things without having to do another remake of any of the tech. That's why it's changed, and we have all that new detail." End of quote. I think this is where it has all gone wrong. I'll preface the coming writing by saying that this letter is a direct result of the radio silence on the matter. We're now 4 weeks into the release of the new Odyssey DLC. Evidence is mounting in relation to issues with the planetary tech generation, and we've received nothing more than one line during a patch note that reads, "More info is coming." With Horizons, people were patient because again, the tech was new. That is not the case this time. I am not patient. In Elite, we've discovered less than 1% of the Milky Way. That is still an almost countless number of worlds that people have discovered, explored and played around on. You and your team have created a new system from the ground up that quite literally erased those years and years of discovery. It's a bit like taking a photo book that's full of wonderful pictures and throwing them into the fire. The new system shows a lot of issues right now that are serious cause for concern. The forums, the YouTube videos, the friends I talk to, all agree in unison. The new tech is a downgrade. The new tech does not inspire the will to explore. The new tech is uglier, and the new tech is broken. I don't want to go into detail again in relation to all the issues previously discussed, but I will quickly summarize them. Planets look ugly from an altitude because terrain does not appear natural unless viewed from a low-angled sun. Terrain pops into existence bluntly as one descends. There is no smooth transitioning to help make this look natural. All terrain features are tiled across planets, repeating in patterns which mean that one side of the planet looks the same as the other side of the planet. Terrain features are no longer mathematical, unique, chaotic, and random, but instead come from a system of handmade assets that are reused across planets like stamps, meaning no planet is unique. On the Odyssey system you mentioned, I quote, "We have resources that represent the shapes and the types of features that we'd want to generate in the first place. And we've got some stochastic sampling and blending to put those together." End of quote. It really shows. I've mentioned this already, that the new planetary tech system appears to be the absolute killer of exploration. If planets are not unique and beautiful, why would I go and look for unique new planets to discover? I'd like to finish this off with a quote from Cenk Seotome, because he said it better than I could. I quote, "Because obviously they're not manufacturing each of these worlds. It's a stellar forge, but it is not the stellar forge we know and love. We make the joke that the stellar forge is drunk sometimes, but there is something genuinely beautiful about the chaos and the madness of the things stellar forge could come up with. There was something wondrous about it. And now it's an exhausted intern with a box of stamps and a billion forms to fill out. And it just grabs a bunch of stamps and stamps them onto the paper because it just doesn't care. The wonder is gone. The magic is gone because Stella Forge's soul was being crushed and ripped out of it. That's why it's all so depressing. End of quote. Dr. K. Ross, as a customer that paid for a fully fledged and completed DLC that was to improve and extend my game, I ask you, what happens next? Signed, Black Maze.
All right. So, let me start off right away. I want to say, like I said, I'm reserving judgment on this until after, whatever, when they say end of June, when they say, hey, this is all whatever, this is resolved and this is now working as intended. And at that point, I will decide, hey, are these problems still there? But they're definitely concerns now, and I completely understand being worried about it. I will say that I absolutely love and adore, all of us do here at Elite Week, Dr. K. Ross. If there's any issue of criticism to be leveled, at least on my part, it's aimed at the company. We'll never know behind the scenes, what decisions were made for what reasons, who was told to do what, who was given resources to do what. I truly believe that Dr. K wants nothing but the best for the work that she does, but she doesn't own the company. She works for somebody. So in the end, whatever criticisms I raise them and I level them at management. Or if you can level a criticism at a community manager, at the suits, that's fine, because that's that's the side that they're in. Their job is to handle that and to deal with that. But yeah, so that's my only point. But I will say, after having seen that video, I have legitimate concerns that when the bugs are resolved, there may still be lingering issues that are not bug related but are design related that worry me. So we'll have to see how it plays out. Does anybody have anything they want to comment on this? Go ahead, Black Maze.
I'll just say, of course, in response to your statement there, I totally get it and I respect it as well. Again, this spawns from the communication aspect, right? There's been so little. And when I started with a video and a forum post and another video and another forum post and the hundreds of replies and the no messages, I am all like, I think people sometimes underestimate how loud you need to be in order to keep people moving. Because if we don't make any noise, for example, we had lots of issues in alpha that if we didn't go loud on them, nothing would have happened. So that's the point where I'm coming from, right? So I went for I purposely went and called her out, if you want to call it that, specifically to try and spark some controversy. I'm trying to get people talking. And fully respect that she is not in control of what happens, when it happens, what we communicate. I fully respect that. And again, it comes more from the point of trying to get people talking. And I think I surely succeeded there. It's good to see we have now some confirmation in the live stream from Arthur, despite it not being very specific. Again, yeah, let's wait and see, I suppose. I was shocked again. Can you imagine going out exploring and not finding planets that are unique? Like just going to a planet and knowing that that specific asset that's morphed with another asset might be found on a different planet, looking maybe a different texture, color, or whatever, but that canyon edge that you're looking at is not unique, but handmade. Damn.
Yeah. Boss Lady.
So this is one where I have to kind of be careful of how I say this, but from having information about how the new tech was, the different layers of it, and I think Dr. K definitely went into that on her live stream, I think the goal with this new tech was obviously to improve upon what we had, to make it better and to make it even more unique and awesome. And I think that with what Black Maze has highlighted, what the community has highlighted, I think that this is a big. I think it's something that Frontier is going to really be working on. I don't think this is something that they intended. From all of the information that I heard prior to the launch of Odyssey and everything prior to the launch of Alpha, this is definitely not what they intended with the planet generation. It was supposed to basically use the mathematical generation that we had in Horizons and then almost layer on the textures and the extra blending and all of the extra pieces on top of that already solid base, right? So I don't know where that's gone wrong, because obviously I'm not a game developer, but I do think that the intention is to create something that's improving upon and adding on top of the already awesomeness, not to create copy and paste stamps.
Are you saying you think that they went the route of going on top, or are you thinking that would have been better? Sorry.
So from the information that I had, that's what the plan was, to go on top of, like to add on. So basically, if you think of it like a layer cake, the base, the foundation was the Horizons planetary gen that's based on mathematical. And then on top of that was going to be all these other layers. So not as a replacement of the Horizons planet gen, but as extra. It's almost like planetary rendering added on top.
Let me throw out and first off, I'm a Marine. I'm an idiot. I don't know how any of this shit works, but let me just throw out a what if. What if they made a bunch of stamps of this whatever, right? That are sort of cookie cutters, but they're small and they go in different places. And as Boss Lady is just sort of suggesting, they're supposed to fit on top of the terrain of Horizons, such that when you add sort of a certain quantity to a noise level, you get variations on that go all different kinds of ways. But there's a bug that's causing the normal Horizon noise level, the normal Horizon sort of geometry of the landscape to be flat. And as a result, what you're seeing is, instead of adding, like, let's say the thing that they were adding, I'm just going to make it super simple. They were adding 5 to all sorts of things. But if you're going to add 5 to 2 and 5 to 100 and 5 to 3 million, you're going to get, 7, 105, 3 million and 5. But as a result of a bug that made the base landscape sort of be flat, you're getting 5, 5, and 5. And then people are going, hey, I see 5 everywhere. I don't know. I'm an idiot. Maybe that makes no sense at all. Black Maze?
Yeah, so just for the record, the Horizons planetary tech is gone in its entirety. That system is not used. And this is coming directly from Dr. K. Ross, right? To quote her again, I wanted a system that was robust enough to handle things without having to do another remake of any of the tech. That's why it's changed. And we have all that detail. They have gone for a completely new system. And without having all the technical details, I understand that the Horizons system was primarily based around mathematical stuff that they had programmed in such a way that it would completely randomize stuff that looked like canyons. And their new system is based on a height map thing. Again, I don't know all the technical details, but I know it's not based on that math anymore. I do think as well, on the subject of those stamps, like if you had 1,000 stamps and you're going to rotate these and overlap them with other stamps and get them in together, I appreciate, I even think they do that with Star Citizen. You can get it to look good. And again, I trust that she and her team can do it. Absolutely. Again, though, they've not told us that what we have now is not what we're going to end up with. So again, now we have some confirmation from Arthur that it isn't the way it is supposed to be. That's good news. Again, let's hope for more.
Well, more than that, he says, in the end, if after the bugs are fixed, it still is a major problem for the community, then they will have to address whether or not to reopen it and to, take further action to adjust it. So that's also hopeful. And his last comment was that talk is cheap, and he knows that. So, yeah. Let's jump into the next clip. And this one, there's a couple hundred of you guys watching live right now between the Twitch and the YouTube, and you guys deserve a little candy for sticking along through all this. So how about this one right here? Let's see if this one does a little something for you, because I think it might.
I will be honest and tell you, at the moment, there are no plans for full ship interiors. That's a fact. And I think I expressed this on one of the streams before as to why they weren't going to be going in, and we did put it in the forum post. And it simply is, at the moment, it doesn't add enough value to the gameplay loops. That is what is the belief behind the development team, i.e. that the complexity around add this in, and it's not just adding in a ship interior like are in other games. It's then when you go in and you add a ship interior and you have all the various modules laid out in different locations, how it's going to look, and then be able to walk around them. And then it's I've landed at base, I'm under attack and I want to get away, but it's taking me 30 seconds to run to the top of my Anaconda because this is now a 1-to-1 scale of my ship and I've got to go for every single door, etc., etc. And I've been blown up and this isn't fun anymore. Or I'm now bored because I just want to get on my ship and I'm sick and tired because I want to land, get out. It's great to have, and I can see it from both sides. I love the immersion stuff. I'm all over it. And I think it's fantastic. But I also look at it from the other point of view. If this doesn't add anything, it's going to get boring very quickly for people after that first 10, 15 times. If you're in a big ship and it takes you 30, 40 seconds to get through your ship to get off a planet, and then to get off your planet to go into a station, when you might interrupt something off, it will become tiresome because it's not a lift where you're just going in and you haven't got to do anything. You're actually going to have to run around and do stuff. I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. It's not necessarily FDevs, but at the moment it doesn't add any value. They can't see the value added into a gameplay loop. If that changes, perhaps they'll go back and relook at it. But at the moment there are no more plans. That's me being honest. I said before on the stream, it may not be the answer people want to have, but I'm a big fan of, I'd rather give you the answer than say nothing.
Yeah. Ben?
Right. Probably two things. One, have you ever played Pulsar Lost Colony?
I have not.
Right. That is a game where you are basically 5 people crewing a starship, and there's people of you. And you're running around fixing components, doing all that stuff, and it is probably one of the most hectic and immersive and brilliant games. Crewing, where you're all doing your own jobs, a bit like what we could have done with Multicrew, but didn't. And there's just so much potential that game can.
Dev will give you a better answer to this than I will, right? And I'm not gonna. I don't want to sound like I'm being confrontational because I see people in chat going, you're not listening, and we all want ship interiors. You're just not listening to us. Let's be frank about this. What you're asking for is a fundamental change to the game.
Oh, gotcha.
So you're asking for us to create these giant customizable units of space to be multi-crewed, to then fly through in the speed of time that we're doing with Odyssey on a 1-to-1 scale of the Galaxy. It's not a small task to take. And when you have a look at all the other stuff we could have added in, I guess that's the decision they made at those early doors. So people just saying, "I'll just do ship interiors." It's not a just do ship interiors, right? You don't just go around and go, "You know what we're going to do? We're going to model every type of ship interior to its scale." And these ships are huge in comparison to, I think players realized that when we started showing Odyssey off, sort of in the alpha, and people stood next to Corvettes, etc., etc. You want to model that Corvette in a 1-to-1 scale, walk around it, and then you're going to ask for various functions to be taking place within that Corvette whilst you're flying, and it's all customizable to the modules you set in it. And then if, say, you have passenger cabins and you have your passengers in there, the next question is going to be, I want to see the passengers, and then I want to interact with my passengers, and then you're into a whole different game. And at what point do you stop? Because there's a point of where we're trying to get to, which is it's a sim, and we want it to be enjoyable. Now, again, this is me speaking as Arthur, not as FDev. It's my own rationale I've put behind this. Again, I would love to see ship interiors, but I do appreciate you're asking for a significant step change shift in what the game's actually doing. And that's the question is, once you go down that road, at what point do you stop?
Another example that we've built into the structure of the game is ship interiors. Now, a lot of people have you've seen that we're designing all the ships with the interiors in mind, how the cargo is unloaded, all of that sort of thing, how damage occurs. And that's because that another thing that we are doing, again down the line, is that you will be able to walk around inside your ship. You'll be able to get out of your ship, walk around inside space stations, other vehicles, all of that sort of thing. We've shown the damage on the ship, the damage models. Imagine looking at that from inside the ship outwards, seeing your cargo flying out into space, seeing the flames, trying to fight them. All of those things that we plan with time, they won't be at the first release because we want to do them right. We want to do them well. All of these will be done as updates, and I'll talk some more about that in a second, but the point really is that we want to do it well, but the game has to be structured in a way to allow it from the start. So we're designing the ships so that they work that way, and so that when we come to do it, it's not a problem. When we come to show all of these elements, walking around the ships, walking into other people's ships potentially stealing them, we have got in mind all of the things, all of the gameplay, the really rich gameplay that entails. And it's, to go back to what I've been saying right from the start of this Kickstarter, what is the game I want to play? This is the game I want to play, because actually, in many ways, it doesn't feel like a game. It feels like a world that I'm being brought into. And with each of these subsequent updates, we expect that world will get richer, and more of the things that we are excited about will be there. You will be able to walk around the spaceport, you will be able to see gold being loaded into someone else's ship, you will be able to sneak in and hide in amongst the cargo. All of those things are phenomenal gameplay opportunities, where that ship might actually be the ship of another player. So just think where that all ends. All of these things I think we need to do right.
I would love to see players running around their ship and other ships, dealing with emergencies and repelling boarders, cleaning up toxic spillages, exploring derelict husks, that sort of mischief.
What I want to see in future releases of Elite Dangerous will be more ships, more diversity in design and the looks of the spaceships, the ability to walk around them, particularly the bigger ones like the Anaconda.
One of the things that we've implemented on some of the larger ships is based on a grid system of meter squares. So the cockpit is of a certain size, and within that there's a lift shaft, and that shaft will then channel down and be the same position throughout the ship on all the lower decks.
Planning for the future, where on the one hand you have something like a Cobra, which actually is a giant vehicle with a huge ladder you get out of, or an Anaconda, which in itself would probably be the size of a level in many of the first-person shooter games that I've played.
What's really exciting is zero gravity. That's something you don't see in a lot of games, and being able to sort of float around your ship, float through the corridors and float out of your ship and sort of climb around it and fix something on the outside, I think that would be really cool. I'd love to see that in the future.
I'm really looking forward to zero-G combat, getting out of your seat and then being in a atmosphere that has absolutely no gravity. How is that going to work? I'm really looking forward to playing that.
I love things like walking around inside the ship and the space station.
So, yeah, I don't think I really need to say anything. I think the editing said it all. But I'm going to let you guys hop in. Boss Lady, why don't you go first on this one?
Oh, man. I was just sitting here going, damn, that was great editing. So, I guess my first thought on this one is this is the difference between the Kickstarter dreaming of what you want the product to be and midway through rolling the actual product out. I was here when we had the conversation about why ship interiors is probably not something that's going to be easy to do, so I won't repeat that, but I think for David Braben and all of us, the idea of Elite Dangerous is to get completely immersed in this world, into being out in space, being able to, like he said, see the cargo getting loaded on, walk up the ramp, and at least teleport at the door. I don't think it would be a completely different game, but Arf does have a point. At what point do you draw the line? So I think that's one of those questions that I want to ask other people about as much as talk about. But for me, man, I would love to be able to walk around in the cargo bay, or just even in the pilot's, in the cockpit, you can do that in VR. Please, please, please let us just wander around our cockpit. I would be so happy for that. So yeah, that edit. Oof.
Right on. Black Maze.
Yeah, well done, Kai. That was great. I once in a while I go back to these old videos, and every time I do, I get a little bit depressed because it's the vision we all had. I mean, I don't know how long you guys have been playing. I've been from the start, and from the start, I always expected that would happen. And I think there've been a lot of design choices over the year that, at least personally, I don't think were the right ones. I would have had walking in ships way earlier. I think, when you have that sim, for me, it would have been great to have that much earlier, and I still would have very much liked it. I remember playing games like Star Wars Galaxies where, you were able to walk around in your ships and then interact with modules. And of course, it was super basic, but I was literally hanging around with guys in my big yacht, and, we had a party and all that. And damn, would I love to immerse myself that way in Elite. That would be incredible. And it doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Tweet.
Oh, where do I begin with this? Where do I begin? How about, I am not buying, and this is at least the second time I've heard that BS excuse, oh, it's not going to be fun when you got to run all the way through your Anaconda when you're getting shot at and you get blown up. Bullshit, pardon my language. I want to be Han Solo running up that ramp, racing to the cockpit to fire up those engines to get the hell away from whatever's firing at me. I want that excitement, that thrilling gameplay. It's such a poor excuse to say, oh, it's going to take 30 seconds to run through there. No, it doesn't. It doesn't have to. You don't have to start at the very back of the ship and go through on all of them. That's not the way the entrances are on all of the ships. To say, I can't imagine what gameplay we could have. You just heard David Braben himself give you 3 different examples. How about a science lab for all this exploration that you're doing in Odyssey now? You take some of those samples into the science lab, actually do some things and get some information about it. How about derelict ships? You have ship interiors. You've come across a derelict ship out there. You can board it and scavenge on it and do all kinds of things. There is so much gameplay that can come about from ship interiors. And I get it. You're asking for a fundamental change in Elite. Yeah, we are. And I know it's going to be hard. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but guess what? You're freaking game developers. This is what you set out to do. This is your job. You set out to make an immersive game where we can dive into this galaxy that we all have fallen in love with and believe that we're there. And without the addition of ship interiors, that's done. It's gone. With everything the Odyssey has and no ship interiors, no way. You can't have it. We'll all go to Star Citizen. We'll all go to the next big thing. It's just so short-sighted to think, oh, this is too hard. This is such a fundamental change. We're going to give you this little thing and that little thing and this little thing instead because this isn't important anymore. To see the fundamental change from where David Braben was years ago to where we are right now is depressing.
So I'm going to point out a couple of things. First off, Art said, you're asking us to redesign everything so that we can make ship interiors. David Braben says, that's why from the very beginning, we're designing all of this with ship interiors in mind. We're not going to have it now, but fundamentally, from the beginning, we're building it with that as the goal. So it's not really changing anything. I understand it would definitely be a lot of work, and I think that it would probably be worth it to put, spaceship interiors in your spaceship game. I think maybe people would like that. You talk about, people are going to get bored with just walking through. No, they're not. I play Star Citizen. I do not get bored at all from walking through my ship. It offers so many opportunities. You had developers talking about how they mapped out all the square feet and they had the elevator position set for, very specific reasons and whatnot from jump. You've got developers talking about how what they really love is the idea of like, oh my God, imagine 0G and getting out and floating around. Yes, I do want to go to there. I want to imagine 0G. I want to imagine EVA. I want to imagine all kinds of fun stuff I can do. Now, for art, you know, you're fairly new to this project as far as coming on as a community manager. So let me just point out, that was a little history lesson. Now you see what your boss says about spaceship interiors.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So Odyssey was a big expansion, right? I know, for example, like there's been people querying, like, what would you prefer to have first? In what order would you like to have content? What if, just this is to gauge how important ship interiors is to you guys. What if you didn't get the new planetary tech? You didn't get conflict zones, but you got ship interiors. Would that have made you happier?
Yeah, but slightly. So the new planetary tech and all of that stuff, like the conflict zones, the running around on foot doesn't excite me. Oh, sorry. The combat on foot doesn't excite me. The running around on foot excites me because it's part of what's necessary for running around in your ship too. Like they had to design all of that. I honestly, for me, I would say my 1, 2, and 3 would be: number 1, give me ship interiors; number 2, give me crossplay; and number 3, continue the line of atmospheric landings, like, you know, water worlds, gas giants, Earth-like worlds, yada yada yada. But yeah.
Can you imagine if we had boarding mega ships?
That would be cool. That would be very, very cool.
Sorry, I'm speaking out of term. I'm just getting everyone imagining things. The chat's going yes on my question. I think people really like ship interiors.
Yeah, no, we did a poll and 98% of the people said they wanted ship interiors. Obsidian Ant did a poll. 98% of the people said they wanted ship interiors. Down to Earth Astronomy did a poll. 98% of the players said they wanted ship interiors. I'm sensing a reoccurring theme here. Yeah, turns out people want spaceships in your spaceship game. Who knew? I also want to give a huge shout out and a salute to Ben Moss Woodward of Lave Radio for having the balls to tell Art flat out, hey, have you heard about this other game? They do this cool thing where you work together to fly a ship. Kind of like what we could have done with Multicrew, but never did. That was choice, my friend. Boss Lady.
Yeah, so I think we all are on the same page with this one, which I'd never really thought about it, Black Maze, in terms of would you trade blank and blank for ship interiors? Because that's basically what we would be asking for. If we could go back in time to when they started in on Odyssey and they did a poll of the community, they would have gotten this 98% of us want ship interiors because, you know, there are a lot of games that are on foot space-based games. And yes, I love getting out and walking around, and I love I'm one of those rare people that I'm just loving the game because I'm out there, taking plant samples, and I love all of the stuff they've given us. But I think if you had asked me, 2 years ago, right after Horizons kind of wrapped up with a lot of the stuff that they had, what was the next thing? Yeah, walking around inside my ship and being able to do inside ship stuff would be high on that list. And it does beg the question, what is going to be on their roadmap at the end of the month? I hope we do see ship interiors somewhere very far off in the future, even though we've gotten that pretty definite, this is not part of Odyssey. What's the next? What's the next DLC? And it's sad to be thinking about that already. I feel really sad that we're already like, hey, can we get the next DLC? Odyssey was, yeah, but can we get the next one?
Yeah, I think I agree with you 100%. For those people that say add ship interiors to Odyssey, like that's not realistic. That's not sort of fair to expect because it's too much work. But if they were to come out and say, hey, man, we're going to give you a couple of ships. We're going to give you a couple SRVs. We're going to do a little of this. We're going to do a little of that. We're going to fill out the NASA gameplay. We're going to give you some fun stuff. And then, me personally, I would like to see Frontier release new paid content every year. I would like to see them go to a model that's much more agile, that releases smaller stuff. And if they were to say, hey, a year from now, we're going to give you, walking in your ships. We're going to spend a year and we're going to just, grind it out. We're going to, I don't know to what extent we were told that they had designed the ships with walking in ships in mind from the beginning. But I don't know to what extent over time there was more stuff that needed to happen or whatever. Okay, fine. But commit. That's the next thing. We're working on it. That's going to happen. I would be, as Black Maze has said repeatedly earlier, I'm a big boy. I don't need it right this second. But if I know that it's coming, I can go, okay, all right, good. Cool. It's coming. There's plenty to enjoy in Elite. But I feel like Odyssey has been extra grindy, extra soulless, pew shoot a guy in the face, and not any of the high-minded, more scientific, more thoughtful, more whatever that I wanted out of Odyssey, that I come to Elite Dangerous for. That doesn't mean that they can't turn it around. That doesn't mean that Odyssey can't go down in history 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Players look back at Odyssey and say, man, that was such a great expansion because it gave us the building blocks of walking around on your feet. And from that, in the next expansion, we could walk around in our ships. In the expansion after that, we were doing all kinds of crazy, archaeology through alien ruins. In the expansion after that, we were, landing in Earth-like worlds and doing mineralogy and there's tons that Odyssey can be a useful stepping stone to get to. I just want to see some sign that this is going somewhere good and that this is not going to just degenerate into Fortnite in space. Because that I'm not down for. All right, last call. Anybody got anything else on this this video of teaching art why ship interiors is a good thing according to David Braben? Go ahead, Black Mace.
Yeah.
I think Tweak wants something to say first.
Go ahead, Tweak, sorry.
Well, I was just going to say that I don't really think that it's necessarily a trade one for the other, because if you look 3 years ago, before we knew what Odyssey was, the number one request from the community was space legs. It was. And it makes sense. What we have in Odyssey right now is a good base to build amongst all kinds of other things that can lead you to ship interiors and being able to walk around your ship. But for them to come out and say it's not on the roadmap, it's not happening, is just a major oof as far as what is their vision for the future of this game. I'm with Kai. If it's not ship interiors and it's not crossplay, what could the features be that they give us with Odyssey or down the line after Odyssey that keep us all totally enthralled with Elite Dangerous? I don't know. I don't know what it could possibly be if it's not one of those two things.
Black Maze.
So one of the things I think that came out of Odyssey really well is the settlements, the new Odyssey settlements. They're beautiful. There's 7 different economy types. Every type has 4 different sizes. That's 28 types of, there's a lot of incredible looking assets in there. The rooms are different. There's different dorms, different cabins. Everything is beautiful. And one of the things that really helped me immerse myself in Elite with this expansion is finding a settlement that looks pretty with a faction that I want to get close to and improve on. And just landing on the base, getting out on foot, walking to the terminal, grabbing a mission that's for on foot, going back in my ship, doing it, coming back there to hand it in, grab a new one. I honestly have been loving that. And then between missions, there's the tourism settlements where you've got the bar. There's actually a bar in the tourism settlements. And it's just such a great feeling in between missions to go in the bar and just chill for a couple of minutes and go do another mission. And I agree with what Tweaked is saying. I would love to extend that to ship interiors. Odyssey can very much be that building block for sure.
But wait, I'm confused. Black Maze, don't you get bored walking in the same settlement over and over?
Dude, I'd fucking walk that settlement up and down every day.
Just imagine what you do with a ship. All right.
Even the screenshot opportunities. I'll shut up now.
Yeah, I get you. No, I get you. It's all beautiful. All right, that takes us to our moment of Braben. Every week, the last thing was more just educating Art. This is going to be the real moment of Braben. Every week we pull a clip of David Braben from years ago. We listen to what he had to say and look at it through the viewpoint of what we're dealing with now in the game. So without further ado, please enjoy this clip of him back from Develop from I think it was 5 or 6 years ago. No. This was from 8 years ago. Check this out, and then we're going to talk about it.
So we're in the expo, and look who I've just bumped into. It's David Braben. David, so how has your Develop been this year?
Oh, good fun. Just finished giving a talk, but as always, you bump into so many people at Develop and have ad hoc discussions. It's great fun.
So your talk this year?
It was Redefining Alpha. It's looking at the process of game development in the new era, where we can prioritize things the way that makes sense to the new, the developing in public, essentially. Where
That's a nice phrase. I like that. Developing in public.
Yes, it's funny. It's the way we're developing a game and shipping it as we develop it. So there's some interesting different priorities there.
And so, obviously, you're going to go through the whole thing, but pick out one of the things that you highlighted in your talk as a new trend or new thing to think about.
I think it's trying to make sure what you put out is very focused and that you communicate very strongly with the people who are engaging with the game. That it's a two-way process, that they feel that they're being listened to as well. And I think certainly from my side, it's been enjoyable and it's been really positive, really useful. Hopefully, it has for the backers as well.
And yes, because of course the game is a Kickstarter game, so it's been quite 12 months for you, hasn't it? So big Kickstarter, floated the company. And I understand there's some big things in your personal life as well.
That's right. I am getting married to my fiancée this month, which is a big moment in my life. And yes, it's an amazing year. And of course, the release of Elite Dangerous.
And so just talk me through the whole Kickstarter process. How has that been for you? And obviously you're talking today about the alpha and in terms of the communication and what you need to do. How has it been different overall to development of games previously, and is it something that you would like to do again?
Yes, we would very much like to do it again. I mean, the way it's different really is, that we're developing with like-minded individuals. When you're working with a publisher for sound reasons, the people involved are all, they're looking at it with sort of different agendas. You're writing for an imagined audience, and everyone is sort of second-guessing what they might like. And so there are various competing things. One of the things is you end up trying to simplify things, in my view, often too much. The audiences aren't stupid, but sometimes with focus tests on a small period of time, it can give the wrong impression. And I think the other thing is that there is a concept of a vertical slice, which has always frustrated me in game development, and we don't have to do that when we're developing in public, and that is wonderful.
The concept of vertical slice, I was trying to figure it out, and I've got a few ideas in my head, but elaborate on that one.
Well, it's one of these slightly naff terms. The theory is, imagine a cake with lots of layers. If you slice through the layers, you get a little bit of each layer. So you have an idea of how the game would feel. One of the problems is it means you end up prioritizing things that are really not a risk, they're not difficult to do, but often they're quite expensive, like generating artwork and all that sort of thing. Whereas if you have a very focused approach on the risks in order, which is essentially what we've been doing with the Elite Dangerous game, where we've been nailing the moment-to-moment gameplay, the network play, and so on, you actually, not only do you de-risk the project, but it means it's built on very sound foundations. You're building things out one by one, rather than a little bit of everything, which isn't quite as high quality as you'd like.
So there you have David Braben telling you that vertical slices are a bit naff, which for Americans, it's basically saying it's kind of shit. And yet, basically, our alpha was a vertical slice. Well, 3 of them. And we got the result that we got. I love seeing a younger, sort of excited David Braben there, who's just on the launch of Elite Dangerous, the original. full of ideals, full of excitement and energy for what's to come, and lots of possibilities. But looking at it through the prism of Odyssey, I think kind of puts us in a very, very different space. Who wants to go first and comment on this?
I'll say I missed the David Braben FDef. It doesn't. I think this is discussed more often, but how involved is he still with the development? How is he making choices? It doesn't feel like it.
I agree. Boss Lady.
And I love him.
Yeah.
I meant David Braben. Sorry, I love David Braben.
I get you. Boss Lady.
I guess I'm speechless. It's one of those things where it's so hard to watch that version of where things started right now because, it's beautiful to see how excited he was and how, I'm just picturing right now, and this may be totally different, but I'm not picturing that same level of like, oh, this is amazing. And I'm so excited about where we are and how we're pioneering how alphas are done and they're open and they're in the public and everybody's involved. And obviously that's not, those ideals once they hit the tires hit the road, you don't always get those ideals, but it's kind of sad and it's also inspiring that, that was the vision, that could be the vision, and just seeing how excited he was then, and I just would love to see that again. I'd love to see him that excited about what's going on with Elite these days.
Wait a second. Here's a thought, Boss Lady. He was talking so excitedly about how much fun it is to be developing in public, like shipping as you develop. If you look at it from a certain direction and squint, that's what we've got now.
Oh no. Yeah, it kind of is. It is,
Tweaked.
Yeah, that's exactly what we have right now. They released an alpha, quote unquote, kind of sorta, and they're developing it as it goes. But the one thing that kind of struck me was audiences aren't dumb. Our customer base is not dumb, he said. But the way they talk to us and the way they have talked to us for the last few years, they think we are. They sound like they think we are anyways. They don't talk to us like adults. Tuesday was maybe the first time that they did that when they said no ship interiors, no crossplay. Okay, at least we know. Am I happy about it? No, but at least you told me something. But you didn't tell me where we are going instead. But it's just, I agree. I wish we could get David Braben more involved. And don't get me wrong, I believe he was somewhat involved. I mean, in his early talks, he also talked about walking around stations and getting out at settlements and stuff. And we are now getting that. So this is still part of his vision. Odyssey is. It's not polished, and it needs to be polished a lot still, but it's still part of Braben's original vision. But my fear is the future. There's a new game director involved that's been here for a couple of years, and I don't know that I have the same faith in him that I had in. Well, I know I don't have the same faith in him that I had in David Braben.
All right, guys, this has gone long. We got to get out of here soon, so I'm going to wrap things up with just a real quick. I want to say two things. The first, Down to Earth Astronomy put out a phenomenal must-watch video. Don't watch it and like, okay, I'm done. Also, bookmark that video. Throw it in your Elite. Let's be honest, we all have a bookmark folder in our browser that says Elite. Throw that video, throw it in your little folder, because that video is tied also to a spreadsheet, and in that, it shows you every one of the Odyssey mats, like what has a use and what doesn't have a use. That will save your ass so much hassle as you go forward, because you need to know you're going to fill up on all the stuff with this crazy, stupid grind, and when you do, you're going to need to know what you can get rid of to make room, because more than half of the materials, as we discussed last week on the show when we had Astro in, more than half of the materials are useless. They literally are vendor trash. The only point of them is to sell it for very small amounts of money and to screw up the RNG table so that you can't get the opinion polls that you're trying to get. So, yeah, definitely go check that out. All right. I want to say that for as much frustration and as much sort of criticism as I've had over certain things, I definitely do appreciate that Frontier has said, we're listening, we're learning, we screwed up, we know that we owe it to you, we know that it's going to be a fight to get it back. I need them to continue to do that. They put out a very good Tuesday. On the Thursday stream, they put out a massive patch, which I didn't even mention. It's in the show notes. There's patch 3 and patch 3.01. On Thursday, they put out a massive patch. They could have used that opportunity to go in depth. In Final Fantasy XIV, when they put out a patch, when they put out their big content drops, they literally have the community team get together and they read through the patch note line by line and they say, oh, this one says this. Oh, we talked to one of the developers. What they mean by that is this. And they kind of put it into straight English for people, which does an amazing amount of work to edify their community and let them know, like, oh, this is what that is. That is what that is. They literally do like a 2.5 hour long, they call it a live letter for that game, where they go through all of that stuff. Can you imagine how great it would have been if on the Thursday stream they picked apart those notes? They're touting this patch as great stuff for us. Okay. Spend some time telling us about it. Instead, what they did is they went in there and ran around in a conflict zone. And I was in the chat and I even said, hey, would people like to see, management of the community on these streams instead of them running around shooting guns and whatever? And, how about, if they were to go through the patch notes and explain some stuff, answer questions, get it, get some information for the community. And Art saw my comment in the chat and literally just gave a very flippant, yeah, no, that's not what these are for. These are for us to play the game and to relax and have fun. And if you don't like that, then this isn't the stream for you. That, to me, doesn't sound like a guy who meant it when he said 2 days earlier, we know we screwed up and we have to do a better job of communicating to win back your trust. But I don't know. Maybe you guys disagree. Maybe you guys like the Thursday streams as they are. Let's go around the horn. With that criticism in mind, though, I do want to say I feel like they did better this week than last week, so I'll give that a plus. Baby steps, I guess. I would like to see them. Call me silly. I think that the community management team might want to manage the community on 100% of their streams instead of 50% of their streams. But whatever. Let's go around. Say all of your piece, whatever you got left, and good night to the beautiful people. Tweaked?
Yeah, just on that last point, I totally agree with that, Kai. I tuned in Thursday expecting them with their new communication method or ideals, and all it was is, nope, we're going to play the game. We're not going to even mention that there was a patch, and we're sure as hell not going to tell you what was in the patch or talk about it. And I watched them go down. I basically gathered that they weren't going to tell anything. So I tuned out. And it's absolutely ridiculous when the community is on fire and they're putting out patch after patch after patch. And a patch came out that night, the night before that stream, and they didn't even address it. To me, that's silly. I don't tune into those streams to watch them play the game. I can tune in to Boss to get way better conversation and a way better community if I want to tune in and watch somebody play the game. Never should be that way. That to me was a step forward on Tuesday and 2 steps back on Thursday. So we'll see what this week brings.
Boss lady.
That being said,
go ahead.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Boss lady.
Oh no, Tweets, damn it. I was going to say I've been giving this a lot of thought since listening to last week's episode, and I think the thing that would be really awesome to see with those Thursday streams, yes, they want to have some streams where they are playing the game, and use that new or not master player aspect to their advantage. Like Kai said last week, one of the best ones was where they were getting taught to do the wall climbing. So learn from the community, bring people in, and they've done that. They've brought in Soldier Sailor to do Thargoid combat or things like that. You know, be the student. The community managers can be the student, and then have these experts teaching people, because then people tune in to see it. You know, they want to see, they can learn from it. If the community managers are the people who are being the person that's having to be the person to learn, that helps because they can ask questions and things like that. But when it comes to the patch notes, I agree. I've seen some other communities, and that's all about how the company sets up those community streams. That is completely out of the control of the employees. That is all about how the company itself decides what they want to do. I think it would be great if they could have a segment where they did, you know, even like Trevor Noah on The Daily Show does, like, this is the news, but it's all the news in like 1 minute. If they could do that with the patch notes, where they just went through and talked about it, talked about how it links into some of the things that they've been hearing from the community, and feed, you know, get that feedback going back and forth, where they're saying, hey, you know, here's this patch notes, but you guys have been telling us this, and look, here it is on the patch note, or, you know, this is in there. Well, maybe none of you know what that is. I do think that would be really helpful. I don't think they have to completely throw out the gameplay, but maybe just shift it a bit, you know, shift it so that it's interesting. People are tuning in to learn something. That's always the point of content. So, other than that, have a good night, guys. This has been a crazy Elite week. So, anyway, have a good night, you guys.
Right on. Black Maze.
I like that the wall riding stream stood out to you. That's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
I definitely think the live streams are a good platform for things like that. I'll add that I think that the basis of communication should be in writing, and then they can go over that in the live stream. You know, if there's important things that you want your community to know about, don't do it in a live stream that only a small portion watches. Put it in writing, in a newsletter, email, and or the forum. Make sure that everyone has easy access to that. And then, spend time talking about it in your live streams and doing fun things. And I hope for the next time, Kai, that we speak, it'll be about fun stuff. Think Rebuy Unlimited, racing, because I'm fucking done with all this negativity. Oh, yeah. There's a lot that needs fixing, but I'm ready for good things. And thanks for having me again. And 07 to everybody listening.
Yeah, thank you, brother. All right, good night, beautiful people. We love you one and all. The name of this episode was Words Are Wind. As our community manager stated, he understands that talk is cheap. I guess sometimes you just need more than words. That's what we need now, more than